3 hours.
Right?
Boy, yeah, I know.
All right, I think we are all set. Got my starting soon screen up. I don't need any background music to complicate issues. That's all I need. All right, moment of truth, everybody. Let's see how the chat looks. Looks good. I believe that I should come up with the announcement.
I think I had 0 audience, like, at this time zone.
Oh,
If it's streamed this late.
well, that's the funny part to me, is that I think that it's in a few short hours time, or maybe 5 or 6 hours time, you're catering to the prime time US audience.
Right.
So for me, I actually enjoy the far more intelligent people of the Southeast Asia, what is it called? I'm trying to think. Oceania, yes. That's what I'm trying to think. As a typical,
yeah.
Uh-oh, I minimized and you froze. Let's not minimize. There we go.
Yeah. I mean, and then you'd have to compete with Ben Feingold, and that's hard. You can't compete with him.
No, not at all. No, I can't compete with Nemsko. I can't compete with any of them, actually. They're all so good. I'd rather be watching them. Chess Weeb and I are on the same wavelength, and he has a far better dedicated viewership, fortunately. So, what was I going to do here? I was going to look into the study screen. 1 second. Let's go back to the content windows, which have changed ever so slightly. And the study screen has disappeared. Oh, maybe it has not yet disappeared. Let's do that. Turn off the tournament event. And where are study screen window? I just lost it briefly. The study screen. And I will share a study link with you so that we can start our collaboration. That looks good.
Okay.
I think that looks good. Uh-oh. I'll find out in just a moment. Oh.
I should
Unlock.
probably get myself a starting thing screen too. Sounds interesting. I thought that would like hurt my per viewers per hour the stats. Not that I really care too much about that. But then I realized there's no real stats to hurt, so I...
Yeah, there you go. But I'll bump. All right. So what am I cutting off here? Am I cutting off anything? Oh, I see what I'm cutting off. Good. Oops. The study stream. Oh, I had it centralized like this. My window's a little bit different in size.
Something that's humming, I'm not quite sure.
I have someone mowing the lawn in the distance, unfortunately.
Oh, right. That makes no sense. I was like, if someone's vacuum cleaner, it's like...
Yeah, it could be considered a vacuum cleaner.
In and out. Okay, pretty weird.
I'm going to close my window in just a moment once we get going. All right, so here...
I actually checked about grass. The clean grass smell is actually grass crying out in pain. Well, not crying out in pain, but like letting off the stress signal and dying.
Right.
Anyway, I can't do it.
I'm going to call it from the ground up with Rogan and do all these things just for the heck of it.
Hang on. Let's
and the first one is King Power 1. So yeah, these things are designed. Uh-oh, that was not the right one to do. Delete chapter.
That's a bit coffee. I can see me having problems with this. Oh no.
King Power 1. And I need to go to. Wait a minute.
I was going to play some music, but I decided that we're starting too anyway.
All right, let's try that, and then I can try editing. No.
Yeah.
Suddenly I seem like a total.
Try.
Suddenly I seem like a total beginner in this particular setup.
We all do.
I need to add you to the study.
The moment a new technology comes along, I'm bumbling along with everybody else. Open the volume mixer. Let's see if we can turn Skype up. Just well.
Let's see if I. Oh, here we go. I'm going to start with chapter 2, and that way I can delete chapter 1, because chapter 1 was not responding very well. Editor, clearboard.
Okay, National Master Tuesday. Yeah. I'll see if I can cough my lungs out one final time.
So the perfect example here, and I already know that you know how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, that's fine, because everybody goes through this. I even saw a 2300 player muck this up. And this basic exercise is that you would like to reach the squares F8 or H8 with your king. All right, this is your goal. You want to reach the squares F8 or H8 with your king. And if you reach either of those two squares, then it's a victory. And I'll explain what's the importance of this in a moment. The good news is that in chess, like many things, you need two weaknesses. If you don't have two weaknesses, then the opponent's king can just sit on that one thing and just it never goes away. It's like having a rook's pawn. That's the anomaly, right? Yeah. There's no way to promote the rook's pawn, because the only way that the black king can escape would be out in this direction. As long as he sits there, you can't push him out on the other side. So in any event, so our goal is white to move, and I will let you make your first or best attempt to do it. I'm not going to tell you any of the tools just yet, because it's just a matter of how are you going to get your king. Now, of course, I'm going to move to block you.
Okay.
And we'll exchange roles after this.
Yeah. Hang on.
Can you move the pieces?
Trying to get off. No, you're trying to get opposition. I'm trying to break opposition.
Yeah, of course. No, you actually want to maintain the opposition for yourself. You're absolutely right. You're headed in the right direction. That was the tool I was going to mention. Opposition is key, and there are a couple of techniques involved with opposition that really help. So, for example, I was inspired by watching your endgame when you had the bishop and king. No. I don't remember. You had the bishop, pawn, and rook against a king and a bishop.
Yeah.
And you did everything really well with your king, actually. So I didn't think this would be much, but the other part was the other part. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So in any event, you can attempt to barrel straight for it, and you will learn that much faster by attempting to defend those squares. So the goal.
There's no pawns involved here, right?
No pawns yet. The reason I took the pawns off is because you can only see the power of the king. The pawn will be there when needed. And in fact, the pawns could be anywhere across like any one of these ranks, you know?
Yeah.
And there's a famous one where you actually have to walk around the pawn in order to get the opposition, with a pawn on b2, for example. Because if you try to walk straight for it, the opponent stops you. The cool part is that space, time, and material start here. So basically, king to d2 grabs the distant opposition.
Yeah, so what's the aim? So the aim for me is to try and get to the back range.
Yep, you want to score a touchdown on f8 or h8.
Touchdown, okay. That's very American, but touchdown it is.
Goal. You want to score a goal on f8 or h8.
Okay. Still very American.
Isn't that, what do they say in Major League Soccer?
No idea, that's a goal.
Yeah, goal.
for New Zealanders in rugby, it's a try.
Right.
Okay, so can I even move in this position? I don't think I can move.
Wait, are you not a contributor? One second.
It's not a lethal position. It's automatically a draw.
Make sure you're a contributor. What?
Right.
Oh, it's a study. Wait, let's make sure.
Oh.
You should be able to move. 1 second.
I should be.
Normal analysis.
Sorry.
Oh, did I delete the wrong king power? I wonder. White to move. Save chapter. That's so bizarre. I've never had that happen before. Let's try this again.
Okay.
Standard. Starting position. Clear board. White to play. Analysis. That's never happened to me before. That's so crazy. That is crazy. I've shown this drill countless numbers of times before. I'm just going to run back to my studies, and I'm just going to pick up. I'm just going to search for Max. Actually, my studies. Student I had named Max. And
was he mad? So you could call him Mad Max?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Nope. Let's go back. It wasn't that one. Well, oh.
I'm honestly sure there's no way I can get past the Black King.
Well, that's funny. I mean, if we have to place a pawn on the board, I guess we have to. But that's so strange that it's declaring a result in a study because of the material.
Yeah, it does that.
That's so bizarre.
Very weird. I don't know. I don't use studies too often. I do have a lot of studies involved in, but
I'm glad I learned it here. It used to work. So let me just see if delete chapter. And interestingly enough, that is very strange. Delete chapter. Add
everything's strange, isn't it? Like the moment you do a co-op stream, everything like suddenly screws up on you. It's like this has never happened before.
Yeah, it never has happened before. That's so bizarre.
Ooh.
All right. Well, we'll start with this one then, even though it's on the wrong file, because I think you know this one. This is the same concept, by the way, with or without the pawn.
Hang on. Because what I've got on my board right now. Okay, no.
Here we go.
Okay.
So now you should be able to move
Same
white.
color. Okay.
Right?
No, let's hang on. What am I screwing up here?
Ah, Pegasus. How are you, sir? I see him in the background.
Hang on. I gotta grab one of those 3 squares.
I see you have alien conglomeration as well in the background. I actually banned alien conglomeration.
Oh, so it's a bot. I was thinking, well, what a very nice fan. They turn up all the time.
They do, don't they? Very suspicious.
Okay, so we'll go.
I reported them first because they didn't show up on the bots list, and so interestingly enough, in order to win this endgame, you have to have really basic, I should say, a really solid understanding of time, space, and material. And I want you to pretend like this is the back rank. This is the back rank right here. And no, I'm just saying this is the back edge of the board. So you can't, like, if I did not have that back rank available, when you push forward, this is stalemate.
Yeah.
So we're rehearsing stalemate here. So the first pretense is to grab as much space as humanly possible with your king, which you did do, right? You did do that. And then you actually have, because the pawn is on the first rank, the advantage of time.
Yeah.
So time, space, and material all are in this particular endgame. And it's accidental, and you just sort of have to practice this one and drill it in just to make sure that you use your tempo. Now, if this pawn were already on e3, the game would be a draw. Like, there would be no way for you to get the opposition. There would be no way for you to gain time. But because you can gain time with e3, now you can outflank me. And this is where that exercise comes in that I was headed for before.
Yeah.
And you can outflank me. I'll let you finish it up.
Oh, okay.
Very good.
And then I think I have to bring my king in at some point. Like, pawn at some point.
Yes, absolutely. Let me just make sure that you know that these are the two weaknesses for the most part. I can't actually do anything for the most part, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, I'll find a way to screw this up. Don't you?
No, you won't. No, you won't. You're going to be a beast.
Hang on. Here. Hang on. Here we go. We'll find this. This should be fine, right? So I don't know where to.
Mm-hmm. And so here's the drill, basically, that we were going to be doing before.
Yeah, one of those three squares. There we go.
And this is how it all works. I'm going to let you finish this just for the technique. I'm actually going to make it a little bit easier.
Check.
I'm going to see what our technique is with the king and the queen. There are two correct answers here in my mind.
A knight's breath. We'll do the old knight's breath sort of deal.
You can, yes.
My technique is horrible.
Well, that's because you're not considering the elements of space, time, and material. For example, you are boxing me in here.
Yeah.
When in this position, you had the opportunity to box me in here.
Yeah.
With queen to h5, using your own king as an additional tool, as piece coordination. So this is just the piece coordination that is just playing queen h5, and it's just mate in 3. I think it's mate in 3. Mate in 6. Never mind. I was corrected. I took a sneak peek. So yeah, queen to h5, and then the king has to move over, and all you have to do is move your king in. No matter where I go, you just move your king in. So the piece coordination in this particular instance exists with after king f6, queen h5. All right, so it's all about being conscious of space and time. Now, this will help you in every endgame, because let's say you did this correctly earlier, right, with your king. You actually did this correctly earlier when I was watching you, and maybe you didn't know why you were doing it correctly, but you boxed in the opponent's king nicely. You ran your king all the way up to assist the pawn, and he had nothing to do but try to blockade his pawn with the bishop, and then you could have zugzwanged the bishop. But you sort of bailed out on the promotion a little bit. Now, the other one, of course, I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going to move it in here. And this is the same exact exercise, but different. And this is going to be king power 2. I hope it's still white to move. Good. Now, the rule here is that you can't move the rook until it's made.
All right. Okay.
And I have done this at some point. You cannot move the rook until it's made.
Okay.
This is what I meant by with Matt Quick Chess earlier. Good morning, MD Knight. How are you? Yeah, it's my 2-year anniversary tomorrow. Unfortunately, I'll be working tomorrow, so make sure you give RoganJoeSloan a follow before he gets away there.
Hey guys, MD Night. I'm always curious. Are you actually a medical doctor?
He is, believe it or not.
Oh, good on.
I met him in Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
I drove up to a tournament, one of my worst tournaments ever. Actually, it wasn't my worst tournament ever. It could have been worse. Let's do the Rogan tips. Everybody who hasn't yet followed Rogan, he streams far more entertainingly than I do.
No, that's not true.
It is true. No, it absolutely is true, because you are able to laugh at your mistakes and stuff like that. Me, I don't laugh at all. I just go, oh, just another day at the office. Let's do this. Right? I hardly ever laugh at my mistakes. It was like, par for the course. Let's just make lemonade out of lemons. And I somehow managed to do it half of the time, make lemonade out of lemons. Thank you, MD Knight. Yeah, he's a great guy. So this is a cross-continental stream for the most part.
Yeah,
I know. I need to do the more 960s. I'm waiting for school to end. I'm like 9 days away. I have 9 school days left.
Yeah.
9 school days left, and then
Teaching day. They look forward to it as much as the children.
some of our seniors. We lost Smitty. Smitty was in the audience. He was lurking. We had one of our seniors from Columbia Grammar in the chat briefly. He might have gone over to you, hopefully to follow.
I don't know. He's definitely doing a lateral move at best. I mean.
Hey, MD Knight, aka Chris, if you don't mind me calling you Chris.
Everybody I know is called Chris, like, you know.
Chris is Chris John. I think Chris John. I'm trying to think. Ron. We've got the most common names.
Yeah.
Except for Rogan. Rogan's the unique fellow.
Oh, it's weird.
Weird.
Yeah. Maybe I need a normal name to be good at chess. I don't know, you know. All the really good chess players have like weird names, like, you know, I don't know, Koningsberg or something.
All right. First things first. So the main difference between adult learners and young prodigies, I'm gonna expand it. I used to say this was the main difference between women and men. I used to say this was between women and men. But now I realize, having watched you in action, that this is not just women and men. This is more along the lines of prodigies and adult learners. And women are so smart. I give them a lot of credit. They're so smart. They understand the trivialities of chess, and they say, I can't be bothered. Like, I've got better things to do with my time, so I'm not going to put any effort into becoming better at this. From an early age, like, they don't do baseball stats on average. They don't do sports stats of any kind. They don't bother memorizing state capitals or anything. They're like, MD Knight has a daughter. I don't know if he knows, but basically, it's great to see you, sir. The girls don't want to answer a question until they've got it right, because they know they can make a mistake. And you are in the same boat. Like, you're not going to make this first move without figuring it out. As an adult, we know that if we make a mistake, then this is bad. This is bad, right? But you're absolutely allowed to make a mistake. You should actually barrel forward and try to figure out what you can possibly do in order to learn from your mistakes. So the young players, especially kids, right? They will just barrel forward and learn from their mistakes much faster than someone who just sits there and never makes a move at all.
Oh, that's nuts. Well, what am I doing here?
Yes, indeed. You gave away the opposition on the first move.
Okay.
So there are 3 types of opposition, right? There's the distant opposition.
Yeah.
There would be the direct opposition in this particular case, right? we would have the diagonal opposition, and then we have the distant diagonal opposition. Now, interestingly enough, the ghost of the square is still there, except it's only distant diagonal opposition from here. So these squares are related. I like to call them related squares, even though they're not technically the related squares that you see in the far more complicated diagrams.
Okay. I guess opposition is needed. Opposition, maybe. Yeah, okay. You're not allowed to move the rock, am I?
No, you're not allowed to move the rock. This is the problem. It's okay.
That's the point.
So your first move in this particular one, I'm going to promote this one.
Yeah.
So now, remember what I said about related squares, because I want you to keep that key concept in mind. Related squares are like brother and sister, brothers, uncles, cousins. They have a resemblance. Sometimes the resemblance is only in having the same last name. So in this particular case, we've got two white squares, as opposed to two dark squares. If I were to move forward, you can move forward. And you grab the related square.
Yeah.
And if I were to move forward, you would move forward, and you have the related square. Now, it's clearly obvious that these two are related because it's absolutely the opposition. You're controlling me. And now you can bypass me.
Okay.
Go ahead and bypass me.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you can bypass me because I have no space. The key concept here, once again, is space. You are controlling me using the greater amount of space. Thanks to your extra material, you're limiting my movement in the one area, and at the same time, you're getting me on the other side. So the moment I try to escape, you can grab the related square again, which also happens to be technically the opposition. Because I also like to think of it as that this is, I'm sorry that I can't make this a square. I want you to think of this square as like a chessboard between the two of us, and whoever steps away is losing. So the opposition is like having a chessboard between us, and I resign by stepping away. I'm like, oh, that's it, I'm done. And now you can bypass again and challenge me. Unfortunately, I don't have the opposition available to me because the lack of space. that is fatal. And it's the same thing in this particular example as well, where you just rinse and repeat. And you did the same thing in the pawn ending, by the way. You know, you did the same thing here, you just have mate. You don't actually have to continue. But most of the kids still do the whole thing. And finish the job because they like the maneuver. And also because their hands are powered by repetitive movement rather than thinking.
Yeah, that's me.
It happens. And especially if you play bullet. Especially if you play bullet, for the most part. So going back to the first one, you did exactly the same thing in this example. I grabbed the distant opposition, and you grabbed, and now of course I've got the distant opposition. And by making that pawn move, you were able to assume the opposition of the related squares, and now you're just basically overpowering me exactly as you saw fit. Personally, I like this square a lot better, just so you have access to those two squares. So yeah, I would probably do it this way, and then you can clearly see the waiting moves, because this position is winning no matter whose turn it is to move. The reason why this position is winning, I'm going to make this, let's go and talk about this king, power, 1A, whoops. I'll move it up there for the most part. Oh, I didn't change it. Darn it. That didn't help. Let's go back to this one.
It's so weird. I do chessable all the time, and I seem to get it right. But forget about it. Real life.
No, there's a little bit of tension when you're dealing with an actual person. And it happens in real life too. So this one, for example, was here. And I wanted to add the new chapter with black to move. Where is it? Oh, it is black to play. No, I wanted to add it with white to play. And it's supposed to be king power 1A. There's another feature of this too.
No.
But basically, when it's black to move, I'm sorry, when it's white to move, you would think that you're losing the opposition, but remember, you have a material advantage, so you have a time advantage.
Yeah, you can waste it.
So interestingly enough, you still win this endgame because black had no space to maneuver.
Yeah.
If black had space to maneuver in this position, he would go to E9. I'm sorry, he could actually step in front of it, and then he could keep the opposition by going to E9 when the pawn moves forward. When the pawn moves forward. So this is relatively key. Now we're just going to move on to the other major piece. I promised that I was going to try to fly through this a little bit faster.
Yeah. All right, take it. You do, yeah.
Through all the groundwork basics. So we already started with the one rook and the king power 2.
Rook in game's my nightmare.
No, it's not a rook endgame.
Okay, that's good.
It's not a rook endgame. Believe it or not, this is just another move, another position, just like anything else. By labeling things, you can actually make things accidentally intimidating.
Yeah.
And certainly we've had this happen in the past. Like I remember someone say, you're just not seeing something on diagonals to a student, and now guess what happens? They start screwing up everything involving diagonals after that because they now know that they're supposed to screw up things involving these diagonal movement or whatever. Because you've literally planted the seed of that with the labeling. So here, it's mate in 3, actually. Or is it mate in 4? It claims to be mate in 4. It says distance to mate 4, but I've always thought of this as a mate in 3. I wonder how that counts. The other one was also longer.
Really? How does that work, Tim?
So I've already given you the 3 elements that you just need to be aware of: space, time, and material.
Okay, so I'm guessing I have to go toward the port now.
So interestingly enough, you've already been in this position before. We covered it right back here under king power 2.
Okay, all right, okay.
That's why we're building from the ground up. We're going from 0 to 60. So right now we're throttling along at about 4 miles per hour.
Don't we're driving. What are you on about? I go. Hang on, I go here.
Check.
But if the king escapes the first rank, how are you going to mate in 2 moves?
Yeah. Pretend that didn't happen.
That's right. So, ironically, you already have the one key advantage, which is space. You've got my king completely dominated in space. You don't need to improve it. What is your worst place piece?
Space to move, yeah.
And there's one more secret to this, which is even more profound. All right? Now, this king only has 1 move. Now, I'm going to tell you a secret. In that initial position, all of the moves, except for king moves, all of the moves were mate in 3 except for king move.
Right.
But now, you've made it a little bit of a mate in 4. Because now it's mate in 2 from here. But I don't mind that, because this is a position we're going to discuss. This would normally be king power with rook. There you go, the waiting move, exactly. Because you have time, you're able to deliver this. Now, think about this for a moment. When this king went to this side of the board,
Yeah.
I want you to recreate the King Power 2 exercise in a way. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, hold on, I have to get out of this. I accidentally clicked on something. And now you can actually recreate mate and 2 moves here. Just think about space. Where is the Black King going next? What is your opponent's intention? I need to incorporate the all guards 3 questions, right? What is your opponent's intention? And that will tell you exactly what's going on in the game.
Okay.
And now you can just
make it.
We're going to make that one the main line. Now, interestingly enough, you can do this in any particular thing. So had you gone to this one, then I would have tested you on the time factor by going toward your rook to stop you from checkmating, rather than the roping in factor. And here you have the tempo, which you can always do. And then it's just mate.
Yeah.
So the funny part about this now is I'm not going to give it away, at least, because I'm powering us along. I might have to come back to one of these, king and queen. There are going to be 3 of these.
Yeah.
Because it's all about coordination. Oh, that didn't work. I got to delete that chapter. It's supposed to be a queen, not a rook. That chapter.
Right.
So here we go.
Yeah.
White to move and checkmate in 2 moves.
Okay.
That's how much stronger the queen. The queen is that much stronger than the rook.
Okay.
So the rook on the same square took a third of a move longer.
Oh, hang on. I think there one goes. Can't go there. Can't go there. I think this is it. All right.
Very good. Are you an engineer, sir?
Me, no.
Just checking.
Yeah.
I did see this one in your fundamental books. No, I did.
Ah, yes. It is in the introductory chapter to the fundamental books, exactly. And I believe...
I just broke your ego there. Yeah, I saw it in your book.
That's good. And I'm glad that you internalized it, too. That's important. Because this is... No, but... one moment. Add a new chapter. And it is the same thing from the book. But I do use this stuff in real life.
Yeah, I'm assuming so. I mean, it's a bit helpful if you can use it in real life too.
Yes. I've never actually looked at Stockfish's distance to mate disparity here in this particular position. Once I start adding upon the disparity in Stockfish's distance to mate.
Yeah.
So what do we have?
Okay. Ooh, I've got a pawn here. I don't know if it needs to use
Is that a
it.
yellow card? Pegasus gave you a yellow card? I don't miss... Hold on, it's 12:21. Oh, he gave you a yellow card a long time ago. Must have been in the other ending.
So I think this is the way that the world works.
All right. And this actually tells me a lot about how you think. Because when you do it in person, as opposed to the order in which I do it, okay? When you do it in person, as opposed to the, I'm going to put the pawns on that square and the pawns on that square.
Mm. All right. Okay. So, okay.
Herein lies the test.
That's annoying. Why? Okay.
I learned this the hard way myself. Believe it or not.
Is this checkmate the same amount of moves or what?
Checkmate in 2.
In 2?
In 2.
In 2?
Indeed.
Okay, I mean...
Now we're going to introduce a really great fundamental concept, which has to be internalized as well.
Huh. And two. It's not the same as before. It's annoying.
So I actually have the same thing with billiards. I don't know if anyone plays pool with balls, cue ball, and pockets, right?
Mm.
Have you played pool recently, Rogan? I don't know.
No, I'm terrible.
But you know the concept.
No.
The concept is that let's say you want to put a ball in the right-hand pocket, you have to hit the ball on the left-hand side. So if you're sending the cue ball toward the ball at a right angle, it will go into the left-hand pocket, assuming that you hit it at the right spot, right? This is related to this position because beginning pool players will always aim directly at the ball because that's what they see. They can't aim at what they don't see, which is the empty space to the left or to the right of the ball. So when you're playing chess,
light squares I have to work with the link.
But it's a little bit simple. I'm going to talk you into understanding this one because you deal with pieces, and the next level for you to deal with is space and squares. The next level for you to really see is what's not there. The space, the control of squares, and things like that. So basically, if we go back to the other ones, you'll see the answer.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, if you think about this one, right, you checkmate it on H8.
Yeah. I need to do light squares, but I don't know how.
Nope. And you checkmated on B8.
Yeah.
You checkmated on B8. You checkmated on H8. And now you have 2 moves to get there.
Okay, this is harder than it seems to be.
No, believe it or not, I just want you to see the squares B8 and H8 as though they were physical entities. Imagine that you were attacking rooks sitting on those squares because you can see material.
Oh, right. Okay.
And now, because I'm asking you to see squares,
yeah.
And now you're in business. Now, the hard part now is to get you so comfortable seeing the destination squares as actual entities as much and as very real as pieces. It's not you. It's everyone in the world, actually. Everyone in the world has this difficulty. No matter what happens, they don't see what's not there. They only see the act. So if you don't have a physical way of attacking something, right, you have to see the square that gets you to the square that gets you to the square that gets you there. And it's a little bit of a trick. So the good news is that most of this can be done in all of those ways as well. So lastly, and that's why I was a little bit perturbed the other day. Hold on, clear board. I was a little bit perturbed the other day when they took my bishop and knight mate out of the equation, right? For the most part, hold on, I have to set this properly if I can, because I'm going to set up the bishop and knight mate this way.
Oh no, not bishop and knight mate. No, no, terrible. I've only ever needed them twice my whole life.
No, but it's all about space, time, and material again.
It is, but you know.
Here, I'm going to take it from here. That way it'll be very straightforward.
Cool and inhuman.
No.
Okay, there. Oh, hang on. This looks like a mate 2.
It is. I'm not giving you anything that will be far, far reaching. We're basically just getting comfy.
Hang on. Got to put the knight somewhere. I know that much. Hang on. Takes. Stop that from doing that. We're going to do that.
Exactly. And I like to emphasize that the distance of the bishops, because the main problem with checkmating with the king and 2 bishops The
Yeah.
main problem is that the players keep the bishops so close to the opponent. Like, they really have to be close to the opponent. They don't understand that the bishops can operate using the whole board. Again, the space concept. All right, let's take a break from that.
Eric Rosen did a great knight and bishop mate the other day against Levy.
Nice. He did that in the match. He did it in the match.
Yeah, with not
Priceless.
someone. Well,
I definitely. How far into the match was it? Was it the blitz, the bullet, or the?
It was when he was like completely dominating. It was just trying to milk the counter so he could so there's less chance for Levy to come back. So he was just chasing the king round and doing a bit of increment to make the match clock. Yeah.
So I'm torn here as to whether I should step to the second step or the third step. I'm just going to give us a nice real position here with which you should already know. E4. Okay. I'm going to let you move the pieces though at a nice clip.
Okay.
So E4, E5.
Okay. Oh, E4. Okay. All right. Oh, okay.
E4, E5. Knight F3, D6.
Knight F3. Knight F3. I'm sorry. E6 was it?
D. Yep.
G6.
D6.
D6?
No, my accent is very thick. It's D6. Dama.
D6. Here we go.
So now there are three very popular moves here for white amongst a variety of levels. Depending on what we choose is going to determine the next game that we look at.
Okay.
Because all three moves are good.
I don't play positions like this, but
but it's not about positions. This is about space and time. You already played D5 against me when you played the London, right? Dude, that's a huge accomplishment for a London player to grab that space, and then I stake out a little bit of space in reply, and you've had me on the ropes because you grabbed your own set of space, right? And now you just have to take that space and run with it.
To be fair, that was just because John Barnes told you said to do that.
Oh, BS. You got this. Time, space, and material is the first three concepts. So you're going with knight c3. That's fine.
Yeah. I'm the most conservative person you'll ever meet in chess.
Okay. Now, instead of that move, I want you, as you're going to become a stronger player, to never, ever defend again. That still is semi-defensive because you're breaking the pin, but I like it because of its aggression. But you have to get your pieces out. Excellent. And then the last move is, what is the next best move?
Okay, well, I mean...
Where are the weaknesses? Where are the weaknesses? The bishop on g4 is not protected. That's the first thing I see whenever I play this position.
Oh, right. Is there some sort of...
I want to take that bishop with my queen. So if black expends a certain amount of time...
Hang on, I'm trying to... So I don't think there's any sacrifice on f7. Takes.
The queen is worth how much?
9 points, yeah.
Roundabout, and the knight, bishop, and knight are all worth 9 points. So now we're going to talk a little bit about piece coordination and activity equaling value. Active pieces and activity equal value. Oh, no problem, but Big T 252. Thank you for first time chat. No, it's okay. I don't believe that Rogan is looking at my chat, so you're good to chat it here.
No, my computer has limited abilities.
Yeah, his computer has. Yeah. You should have seen. I'm hoping to make this training session last at least as long as it took us in the collaboration to set up Discord video, Skype video, And
It would
previously
have been a
Zoom
breeze
video.
on my actual laptop. No, this one's just. Okay, so it's. I mean, I would do this just to free up the bishop, so I can go like takes, so I can.
This okay. So now, obviously, if you were one of my fifth graders, I would, of course, be very, very perturbed that you move the piece. From now on, you have to suggest the moves before you make them. Don't let your hands near those pieces. Suggest the moves, and now we're going to start a thinking collaboration in conversation. So one candidate move is d4. The other candidate move you looked at was bishop takes f7. I heard you.
Yeah.
And you have one more that involves this bishop not being protected. So you did see that bishop f7, knight moves, queen takes, bishop.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to piece it all together for you and say that you've got the candidate moves, the knight moves, the bishop sack, the bishop f7, and the queen taking the bishop. But now you just have to get the move order right so that your queen can take the bishop properly.
Oh, what's this called? Is this a Legal's mate?
There you go.
I'm
hoping that you will internalize these things, because right now, and for Big T 252, a lot of our knowledge. Oops! Now you can't give away your bishop. I said move order.
No, I can't.
Bishop takes f7, king takes f7, knight takes e5,
I've actually got to sacrifice the
d takes e5. It's two pieces for the bishop on g4. And Big T, I can only apologize because I'm going to be walking through these things for Rogan a little faster than in a normal lesson.
Check.
Yes, and this leaves only one move.
Check.
If Big T is still with us.
I just didn't how the Legal's mate works. I was like, I know it, but I just can't.
So now I have heard you in your stream, and you have a hint of the youthfulness that all students have, and that is that you talk about losing material. And I want everyone to realize that you cannot use the word lose in any context, at any time, anywhere. You cannot use that four-letter word lose anywhere.
So do I say technically retired or?
No, you exchanged the queen.
Yeah.
In return for three very active minor pieces. And very often, when you hear strong players analyze, they'll say, I don't have enough compensation for my material. They're not saying, oh, I lost my queen. They're saying, I end up sacrificing my queen. Perhaps that's one way of positively looking at it. But we have 9 points of material here. 3, 3, and 3. And Black decided to exchange this queen for those 3, which was not a very good bargain.
Yeah.
Basically, he jumped upon it.
But I'm pretty sure the Legal's mate isn't good.
Well, I had a student get it 2 rounds in a row in Columbus, Ohio, from other positions. It wasn't in 4 moves or 5 moves. He got it from standard opening moves where the opponent left their bishop on f8. And he literally got it, and then he didn't see it the second time. He saw it the first time. He essayed the Legal's mate. But then he didn't see it the next time. So...
I should think you saw it the first time. You see it the second.
Right.
Yeah.
So for the most part, you have knight c3, bishop c4, and d4 as the 3 moves. You did play d4 a little late in the previous example. H3. Yeah, H3. You found these on the 4th move rather than on the 3rd move of the game.
Yeah.
But basically, in this particular position, had you found bishop c4, I would have still gone into the same scenario for you with bishop to g4. Here, you would want to set it up with knight to c3 because you just don't know if you're going to get that option. Very often, I think, I'm not sure if the original Legal's mate had a6. or even h6, it doesn't matter. As long as they don't do anything to change this position, this works. Now, I've had this position come up in Caro-Kann's, the mainline Caro-Kann.
Yeah.
I've had it come up in Queen's Gambit Acceptance. All sorts of openings this concept comes up in, and it's just basically where are the weaknesses? And the weaknesses are these two pieces right here. That's not defended very well. It's attacked once, it's defended once, but it's attacked once, and now you can attack this bishop as you are attacking it already. By the way, the knight just needs to move. As it turns out, all that's required is that the knight needs to move. If the knight moves, this bishop's attacked, that pawn's attacked twice. It's up to them to choose how to bail out. If they're paying attention, they'll try to guard both weaknesses in one move. So the principle of two weaknesses still applies. Going back to our king and queen 3, you had to spot the two weaknesses without engineering ability. Notice that the type of player that you were in this position, you went with the forcing move. You control the opponent's king, you force him to this square, and then you deliver checkmate. And then in the next one, you did the same exact thing. You controlled the opponent's king, forced him to this square, and then you delivered checkmate.
Yeah.
But once I took the forcing moves away from you, now you actually had to rely on your awareness of the position. And the awareness of the position is just to target and isolate those two squares. And for the most part, this one was almost the same thing. You did see check, you did see moving the knight, and you did see taking the bishop. All of which work.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, new game. I'll rename.
Okay.
I'll rename that one for a moment. Like All's Made, of course. Like All's Made is one of those key concepts that involves attacking weaknesses. Everybody looks at that though as, oh, I know like All's Made, but in reality, what you've learned is attacking two weaknesses. Indirectly attacking two weaknesses. So here, well, did I do that? Ah, I don't want this position. Delete chapter. Darn it. New chapter. Starting position. Dogs and cats living together. There we go. E4, E5.
E4, E5.
Knight F3. D6.
Hang on.
E3, yeah, knight F3, D6, the Philidor. We're basically just going to cover the Philidor. This is also called the Black Lion.
Isn't it like D5?
No.
Oh, no, D6. Sorry, D5.
Yep.
I was confused.
So in a way, this opening called the Black Lion, there was a series of books where it promoted the Black Lion against both D4 and E4. You could play the same structure, which was really horrible for Black, where Black did not get a space advantage. I think the only thing that you're missing from the London, one of the things about the London that I find awkward for beginning and aspiring players is that you don't get the versatility of being able to experiment with space-time and material. So D4, obviously, we're going to go with D4, E takes D4, and Queen takes D4. Now, I love Queen takes D4 for a variety of reasons. It usually forces the action and it tests the opponent. And after Knight C6, White plays Bishop B5. Absolutely. Notice that you didn't defend your queen by running away or cowering in any way. Right? This was an instinctive move that was very good for you. And this is the type of mentality that I want you to have in all of your games. Try to never run away. Try to always think positively. And, of course, the light squared bishop gets to attack this queen. And we have to exchange with bishop takes c6, bishop takes c6. Castles, knight f6. Knight c3 because our pawn is attacked. I'm gonna alter the, I'm doing this game from memory, so that I might accidentally alter the move order ever so slightly. I can apologize to everybody. So we're basically now, we have a space advantage as white. And we have we have unfortunately given our opponent the 2 bishops and returned to the space advantage, but one of their bishops is very unhappy. So the hard part in this position is trying to decide what to do, right? And I'm going to talk about time, space, and material here, because this is a good time as any to talk about it. How many moves will it take Black to connect his rooks so that they will see each other?
1, 2, 3.
Exactly. I should back it up 1 move here, because it's unfair to have the knight already out. And how many moves will it take White in this position?
1, 2.
Exactly. So once we start placing the rooks, we're in the middle game. And many young players, or players that are, let's just say, anxious or want to start playing the game right away, will leave the rooks behind in their operations. They'll just never get around to placing their rooks, which is why I have that quote about the rooks to a certain extent. Because it is very serious, as you get to be a stronger player, that you want the rooks to reach the right squares faster than your opponent. Because if you get that 10 points of material in the game, you're up 10 points. The opponent never uses his rooks, you're up 10 points. So in this particular position, time is the same exchange, by the way. So White actually exchanges the time in this factor with knight to d5 to grab the space. And we've already discussed, as Pegasus knows from a long time ago, that a knight on the 5th rank is worth more than a bishop. So knight to d5 for, oh, sorry, I didn't move Black. Bishop e7, knight to d5.
Knight to d5?
Yeah, we're going to grab the space, possibly, potentially.
Oh, right. Yeah, there we go.
Right, and after bishop takes d5, e takes d5, Black starts chipping away at the center with c6. Now, Black, of course, could have castled before doing this, but for whatever reason, they're trying to expand in the center. They want this pawn to move forward so that bishop will live a happier life. So we don't want to make exchanges to help them out, so we have to reinforce our space advantage, again, space, time, and material, with c4.
c4. Oh, there you go.
Now we're reinforcing our space advantage, and you do this in the London against me pretty well. You actually hold on to that decently enough. That is a pain in my tuchus. I have to work around it. I think our last game was the craziest game ever. Because I think you, well, ironically, I ended up pipping you at the post. That was only because piece coordination.
Technical vision.
Piece coordination, basically. You just sort of left something behind. I think it was definitely a rook on a1. But c takes d5, c takes d5, castles.
There.
And bishop g5. Very logical move. Now, the reason I choose this particular move order is because there are some tricks involving the seesaw earlier in the game that I'm not entirely sure aren't there. So if there's a pawn sitting on c6 and there's a pawn sitting on c4, if this pawn's guarded by the c6 pawn, I believe that Black can take on d5. And this one is attacked twice.
Yeah.
The bishop on g5 is attacked twice. And since the pawn on c6 is guarding the knight, we don't have queen takes d5 as we do here. So the seesaw doesn't work in this position because the queen just guards the bishop. But when that position occurred earlier, I try to watch out. So it's very tricky for me to get the bishop to g5 in this move order, and I can't remember the original game move order. But needless to say, Black usually plays rook to e8, and White plays rook to e1.
e1.
And Black would love to play rook c8, but for the a pawn, they play a5.
Oh, a5.
And here, suggestions for White. What do you think White should do?
Well, I would take file control with c1.
Very good.
Rook c1.
And another?
I would stop him from expanding by playing pawn A or A4. I would probably do a weird sort of move by playing the pawn H3 to give myself a little bit of breathing room on the back rank.
I asked you never to defend. Never defend.
Never defend.
Never defend. What you want
Okay.
to do is play attacking moves that defend. So if there were a bishop on G4, yes, H3 would be useful like you did before. Earlier, though, when you played H3, your king wasn't even castled, so it didn't create luft. It only had one idea.
Okay. Maybe pawn B4 just to trade off.
Well, I like your idea of placing, but you were on the right path on the first move by placing your A1 rook, and you have 3 choices for the A1 rook.
Yeah. There's D1, C1. Yeah. B1.
Nope, not
I like
B1.
C1, but
Not B1. You have C1, D1, and
C1, D1, and what, A1. I don't know. Which
E1.
rook are we placing again?
you're placing this rook.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So you can go to E1.
Yeah.
So rook E2 is the logical next move.
Yes, I can double them. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes when things are in the way, you don't see the goal being that square. Remember, it's a square theory again. And strengthen numbers. So rook E2, rook C8, rook AE1.
Yeah.
Let's see that one. Rook E2,
Okay.
rook C8, rook AE1, and now white has a very serious threat. What is white's threat?
Oh, what?
I have to rook on A to E1.
Oh,
Yeah.
Takes. Oh. What are we doing? We done?
What happens?
Oh, in this position.
Yeah, what's white's threat?
Well, white straight take on F6. Bishop takes F6.
And fork the rook and the
rook
king
takes-
queen. Absolutely.
Rook takes E8.
Yep.
Queen takes E8, and then check, and then
Yeah, the basic forkaroos key on that square, as chess coach Andres would say. So black does have to connect his rooks with queen to D7. And both sides seem to have entered the middle game at roughly the same time, but white's pieces are more valuable than black's. So queen to D7.
Yes.
Queen D7, bishop takes F6, and bishop takes F6. We're going to start taking advantage of weaknesses because of the better placed pieces. Queen D7 for black.
Queen D7.
Yep. Bishop takes F6, bishop takes F6. And white to move and win.
White to move and win.
Now, granted, to say that at this stage is tricky.
It's a big one.
Now, this is actually one of those standard positions that everybody should know. I think if you showed this position to every grandmaster in the world, they would name the players that played this. I'm not talking Magnus, because everybody loves to claim Magnus knows all the names and the dates of all the players, but every grandmaster has that ability. He gets shown up for it.
Hang on, it takes. Hang on, so takes.
Well, let's just look at the candidate move. For example, your first candidate move is rook takes e8. Keep looking for candidate moves.
Yep.
What else can we do?
You
already know.
Hail Mary. But Knight 95 looks silly, but it isn't. Right here.
I'll take it. Another move for white.
Ooh, I don't know. Knight. The Queen B6 or something.
Excellent. You're attacking the weakness on A5. That's one weakness. But what else does black have that's unprotected right now?
I would say, I don't know, like this pawns. Oh, I mean, I could just attack a rook, I guess.
You could try to attack a rook, but it's not that easy because the rooks are both guarded twice and attacked twice.
I know, but if I go queen, but if I go queen C, if I go
You're
queen,
on it.
Queen
Exactly. Queen to
C4.
C. Well, queen to C4.
Right. Checkmate.
Bingo. What else is weak and unprotected on the black side of the board?
The queen looks reasonably.
Yeah, the queen is guarding the rook. So you can find this move on your own. Since you found queen C4, this move is the key concept. Attacking the queen. But you have to attack the queen.
Okay, what are queen G4?
That's the move, right? So now we get to have some fun because this queen cannot obviously capture. You've already worked out the back rank mate.
Yeah. And
so therefore, queen to G4, queen to B5.
Yeah.
And now remember not to move any pieces, but suggest what could possibly happen here. Since you already have a catalog of candidate moves that you can work with.
Oh, yes. So how many available spaces? It takes. Why is this a problem for me?
It's not, because you already told me the answer.
Did I?
You did.
This is annoying. I calculate stuff and then I forget it.
No, but it's not about calculating. It's about understanding the weaknesses for what they are. You already told me that if nothing is guarding the rook on E8, you can take the rook on E8. So therefore, you gave me a candidate move before queen G4 that exists now.
So,
it's part of your catalog. Never forget your candidate moves.
All right.
And it works even better.
Queen C4, I would
say. It cannot be taken. Queen C4, and it cannot be taken. So notice the strength of this queen based on the weaknesses in black's position. This queen is like super girl for the most part. It's flying around like faster than a speeding bullet. Queen to D7, and we're going to do it again. Queen to D7.
D7.
And now you can attack the queen again while keeping the attack on the rook. Suggestions only. Try not to move. You know you don't want the queen on that diagonal. So you have to attack the queen differently.
Somehow. Some other way. I'm not going for a draw here, am I?
No, believe it or not. Now, when I first learned this, I learned this concept in 3 stages. The weaknesses, I learned the concepts in 3 stages, and I'll explain them as we approach them, because this part was okay for me when I was about 1700 or 1600. I forget where it was. Because I had a relatively... even though I was a self-taught player, I had a relatively formal education because I went through the books and I went through all the games and I literally went through all the classics, accidentally giving myself a pseudo-formal education.
Right.
And I draw upon that knowledge all the time in lessons, because if the queen is not defending the rook on E8, then rook takes E8 as mate. So there's only one square to keep the attack on the queen, while drawing and the rook on C8, while drawing the queen off of the diagonal, by attempting to draw the queen off of the diagonal. But you have to attack the rook on C8 and the queen at the same time.
And the queen at the same time, eh? I mean, this is...
Well, that's a diagonal. We don't want to be on that diagonal.
Yeah, I know.
So keep going.
Crazy. Okay. Oh, well, I mean, yeah.
Try to use the names of the squares. But we could repeat the position. That's the draw that you were talking about. I know.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
But remember, these are the 2 pieces you're going to attack with your queen in a way that you lure the queen off the diagonal. It's true that you had a skewer there, but the skewer doesn't quite work. We'll talk about that in another position next.
Yeah. What about takes first?
Well,
Takes.
trading off the weakness may give the opponent a lot more options.
Yeah, I have no idea. My brain.
That's okay. We can look at that one for a moment. Basically, if you trade off the first weakness and now you try to attack this queen, they have in-between moves on you. So, for example, this no longer works because they have the in-between move of check.
Yeah.
And they didn't have this move with check before. They had to stop on e2, and the knight was guarding. So, and the same thing happens here. If you find the correct move in this position, then we'll discuss it in the next position. In the previous position, I mean. How can you attack the queen? There are only 3 directions that you can attack black's queen from. The rank, file, and diagonal. So you already attacked the queen from in front of it. Now you can attack it from the side of it.
Side?
Yeah, because the queen has to stay on that diagonal. Yeah, you get to put your queen there.
Oh, right. I don't know how I click in my head that I could do that like that.
That's okay. Like I said, we're trying to stretch your ability to understand and just come to terms with the power and the strength of the pieces. And this is the hard part, because the rooks and the queen and the pieces all together, you know, coordinated. Now we're approaching where I had to learn this in 3 stages. So very commonly, while it was white to play and win with queen to g4, now it's getting a little bit closer to white to play and win.
Okay.
Very clearly. The concepts have been the same so far. And just because I promised that we would address that situation after the rook takes e8 check, if you try queen to c8, he gets to just hide.
Yeah.
And there's no way that you're forking the queen and the rooks anymore, or even taking that for the most part. Like, you can remove the defender the other way. Oh, sorry. Where were we? It was queen to c7. Yeah, if he tries this move, you can actually remove one of the defenders of this man. Yeah. There's nothing guarding it. But queen to b5, promote this puppy.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm guessing with a similar sort of yeah.
So when I first looked at this position, you're absolutely right. When I was 16 or 1700, this was the move that wins. And believe it or not, because I still have this superficial problem to this very day, I stopped looking. I stopped looking at this position. I saw queen takes b7. I never checked the solution. I really never checked the solution.
All right.
And I did not realize that there's a nice little demonstration of an X-ray attack after queen takes e2. Which is really, it's real bollocks, unfortunately, because it may look like you're defending, but the long distance properties of the rook allow black to play.
Yeah.
Black to move. And yeah, the X-ray, basically the same problem. Exactly. So queen takes b7, ironically, does not work. And I actually left it at that. I did not come back to this exercise until later, when I found out that I was allowing mate in a few by playing queen takes b7. Now I had to look at the problem again.
Okay.
And I said, okay, so how can we run the white queen out of squares? I'm sorry, the black queen out of squares. And the logical move comes in with a4. a4, queen takes a4.
I just thought this would... That's something that could work because I'm still taking that.
Exactly. I agree with you. I agree with you. I thought queen takes b7 had to be the bomb, because you're attacking the queen and the rook on c8. If the queen moved away, you might get to take the rook on c8. Whatever. Yeah. I thought I was wrong. I was just wrong when I saw it the first time. I was rated, you know, to be exact, I think I was 1575 or 1585. I was right about 1600. Yeah. And now it's white to move and win again.
There's a lot of white to moves and wins, isn't there?
Well, you're walking a little bit of a tightrope the whole way. Like, you could probably start with any one of these positions and just say, explain what's going on. But again, we don't want to trade off black's weakness. Black's weakness is, unfortunately, the rook on c8 needing to guard. Black's pieces are all overworked. This is an overworked game and a half.
Okay, I mean,
so there are only like three candidate moves. I forgot the other one is still a candidate move. We still have queen c4 as a candidate move.
Yeah.
I can see you wanted to add b3 as a candidate move.
Maybe.
Try not to move the pieces. That's commitment.
I know, yeah. True. Compulsive need to do something.
No, I know. This is the hard part. I have these fifth graders in my Friday class. Oh my God. Like, the whole time they're working on their own chess sets, they're moving the pieces while the rest of the class, and they have not, and believe it or not, when the quiz comes up for the next following move, they don't have the correct position on the board. And someone will say, where did you get that answer from? And they'll look over at the board and they're like, why are your pieces on those squares? You can't see the position clearly by moving the pieces, and your hands are in the way. My coach used to say that if your hand's on a piece, you won't be able to see the part of the board that your hand is covering the board.
Okay. I mean, I don't know how I feel being your kids.
So attacking the queen, right, is the theme. So you looked at b3. We looked at queen to c4. You even looked at queen takes a5. There's one more move with which you can attack the black queen.
I mean, you know.
And it's invulnerable, right? Use your words, by the way. Rook e4. You have to start using the notation so that you can start analyzing very, very deeply. Yes, rook e4 is the next logical move for the most part. And on this particular setup, to be honest, when I saw this position for the second time, I said b3 and white wins, and then I didn't bother to look at the solution. And I had to come back to it a third time later, when I realized that the queen could just go back to this square. Believe it or not, I was that superficial. To this day, I still have that same superficial problem where I'll stop analyzing 1/3 or 2/3 of the way through and not complete the job. So you have to complete the job of analyzing, and after this, I'll find my way around to promote this variation.
Hang on. So is it? I think I've got the. I think I might have the move.
But remember, all of your previous candidate moves are still real.
Yeah, I know. What about this?
This is not a move.
I'll use my words. Queen has c6.
But it's on the same diagonal, so he buys himself some time.
All right. Okay.
But remember, that wasn't a previous move. You had a previous move in this position that now works, because the position has changed.
What?
The previous candidate move.
Was it a candidate move that I came up with, or a candidate?
It was a candidate move that had to be discredited at that time, but now the time is right, because as you play with candidate moves, you build up a catalog, a stockpile of concepts and ideas and candidate moves that can overwhelm your opponent later, especially in time trouble. The more you think quickly.
So queen a5.
Then the queen goes back to d7. That might still win, but
queen b7 looks decent now that I think.
Yeah, now there is no queen takes e2. We've improved our position. So queen takes b7 was the end of the game. because now the queen is lost. And there's no saving.
This is stuff I would never see.
Right, but notice how you're dealing with the ether of the strengths of the pieces in a level. Right. Now the cool part is, because your name is on this study, you can go back and review this just to reinforce your understanding of what just happened. To me, this game should be one of Chessable's immortal games. They've got about 3 or 4 immortal games, like Rubinstein's Immortal. I don't know if you've been through this.
No, I have not been.
Ah, well, you're in for a treat, because we are going to try to cover them as quickly as we can. Starting position. You've been through Morphy's Opera House game.
Yeah. Little bit. Like I know a little bit of it. I've been through it, but I don't remember it.
That's all right.
I know
because you don't
the Count von Bardeleben or something.
Right. Let's do that. Let's do that for the. Let's do that one for the fundamental understanding that you may or may not have missed, because the Chessable courses don't do a good job explaining what's going on. They give you the moves. They give you the beauty of what's happening, but they don't really explain. The basic free courses don't tell you what's going on. So E4, E5, logical enough.
Oh, okay. What am I doing?
E4, E5. I call this the master's handshake. This is what everybody should start out with. This is like you shaking hands with Kaisha and saying, I'm ready to be a good player now. And I'm not saying E4, E5. I'm also saying D4, D5. By shaking hands with Kaisha, you're saying, all right, I'm ready to be a good student. And then the discipline and the character have to follow, of course, to be following up. So knight F3, D6. All 3 of these moves start off with the same opening, interestingly enough. Knight F3, D6.
Sorry, D6.
D4 this time, because Paul Morphy knew the example of following up on an idea. He started off by attacking the E5 pawn. He continues by attacking the E5 pawn. And then black plays a rather unfortunate move in this position. Of all of the moves in this position that are good for black, let's just see if I can find them all. 1, 2, 3, and a 4th okay one. I think there are 4. So black can play knight F6, E takes D4, or knight D7, or pawn takes pawn. So black basically has 4 candidate moves here. Takes, which led to our last one, right? That's where we got our last one. They could go on the counterattack. They could go on the reinforcing with knight D7.
Yep.
Let me make sure that's 4. Is that true? Is that all we have? Maybe I'm incorrect. I feel like I missed one. Or we can play the question mark move that was actually experienced in the game, because we have the maxim knights before bishops, right?
Yeah. Knight before bishops.
Yeah, knight before bishops, because bishops are so valuable. They're like queens. You don't want to bring your queen out too early. You don't want to place your rooks poorly. And you have to really be mindful that you don't have to exchange a bishop if you don't want to. So this bishop on an unprotected square, not unlike the Legal's mate, right?
Yeah.
That was a similar debacle by black also. So D takes E5, takes advantage of the bishop's poor placement. Now, black unfortunately cannot recapture because there won't be a pin on the knight, and the E5 pawn will be hanging. Notice how we defended our knight by capturing on D5, aggressively, assertively, and following up on our ideas. Rather than playing H3, rather than playing bishop E2 and just defending, we basically affected our opponent with a plan that will allow us to continue moving forward with our ideas. Bishop takes F3 is somewhat forced.
Bishop takes F. Oh, right.
Queen takes F3. And after D takes E5, believe it or not, it's white's turn to move. And it looks like cheating, because white already has one active piece. And with bishop C4, we bring out a second active piece.
second active piece. Huh?
Yeah, bishop c4 with a very concrete idea.
Oh, bishop c4. What?
Yeah.
I forget, where's c4?
It's all right. It's always a white
yeah.
square. Bishop. That's the Fisher bishop, by the way. The Fisher bishop is the kingside bishop that goes to b5 as part of the Ruy Lopez. The Italian bishop is also a white square bishop, or the Gioco Piano bishop, or the Evans Gambit bishop, however you look at it. So meanwhile, and then of course we have the dark square bishop on c5. These things just have to be introduced, ironically, in some cute, cool way like that, to just remember it. You're never going to forget the c4 bishop now. So black has a few ways to defend. In fact, I think he only has, knight f6, queen d7, queen e7, and perhaps moving the pawn, queen f6 as well. So he might have 5 responses. Pawn, knight, queen, queen, queen. He chooses knight f6. And now white has 2 weaknesses to attack. Can you find the 2 weaknesses? One is very clear. Actually, I'd say that back. There are 3, but we're not after the 1 if we can attack 2 at a time.
Okay, if we can attack 2 at a time. Well, I don't know. I've got to get the weird instinct to push the G4.
Oh, you're
G4.
you're barreling away at the 1 weakness, obviously, which is f7. So you got that one down pat. It's attacked once, defended once, and if you get to attack it twice while you attack something else once, there you go. Remember to use your words.
I just remember, this is what you did to me when I played the Furiador.
Did I do this to you?
Yeah, you crushed me like many times. In fact, you had like half an hour stream on it. Like, this is.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
No, it's all right. It's all right. You're demonstrating how it works, and I did learn a bit. I basically was like, no, not playing the Furiador anymore.
Do you want her?
You should put it in the basement, or you know what? You can put it in here. I'll take it. Because I want to do a co-stream with somebody in here, and if we need a chair in here, we might as well have that one. Because it can fit in here. Leave it right there. I'll bring it in the rest of the way. Thank you, Boo-Boo. Sorry about that.
All right. Yes. Anyway, yeah. No, you were demonstrating, and like a lot of people have done this because like in your stream, because they seem to know they know their games, and I have a habit of playing Von Bartley with a not Morphe.
Or Steinitz rather than Von Bartley. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
No, interestingly enough, this is part of a catalog series of maneuvers that I just want you to review and absorb and internalize, not unlike how you did the queen mate in 2 moves. The forcing queen mate in 2 moves as opposed to the positional one, which I want to just mention, that was centralizing the queen. By putting the queen in the center with queen e5 way back in that example, you're able to increase the power of the choices, the options. The other one you were choosing was the engineering example. Like you're forcing this cog into this place in order to lever the king to go to that square, and you're going to plant yourself on that one. Basically, you engineered the whole thing with queen h4 and queen b4, right? And you felt comfortable with the engineering side of it. You're a mechanically inclined fellow, or a tactically inclined fellow. If I were to convert it to chess, it would be a tactically inclined fellow, because the positional nature of things will take time to absorb. Finding those weaknesses. Queen to e7, yes.
Yeah. And then I'm thinking bishop g4 through g
I hope I was able to mute myself there for that phone call.
Well, no, well, you didn't, but it's all right. Nobody gleaned any useful information to your whereabouts. It's all right.
No, I think I actually muted myself for the stream. Oh, I didn't mute myself for your half of the stream.
Oh, well, yeah. But nobody's watching. That's fine.
So, Big T 252 had a great idea of question about what is a candidate move. And a candidate move is an option toward a particular choice. If you walk into the supermarket, or if you walk into the any type of department store and you have an idea of what you want, let's just say I have to go buy a snow shovel, and I walk in and I buy the first snow shovel that I see, and I pay like $35 or whatever. It may not translate across countries. But then I get home and my neighbor goes, "Why did you buy the most expensive shovel in the place? The thing is just going to break in a few weeks," whatever. And I didn't bother to go deeper to look at all the snow shovels that were available. Basically, I got the wrought iron shovel that weighs about 35 pounds, that the bolt comes loose that's holding the thing onto the iron handle. But because I didn't go and compare all of the candidates for snow shovel purchasing, I sold out. And most chess players play the first move that they see. They walk into the store, they see the shovel, they buy the shovel, and they're out of the store, and they do not get the best possible shovel. They don't make the best possible move. So the same thing occurs in governments and in local positions and in job offers. You have candidates for a job position. They don't hire the first person that comes through the door for a job position. They gather all the resumes, and they go through a careful selection process, weighing them up, which might take days, if not weeks, if not months. And then they choose one candidate from the candidates. Got it, Big T? I hope so. That was a good question. I use the word candidate all the time, and I never get to explain it. So meanwhile,
back at the ranch,
we have three or four good candidate moves here, for example.
Okay. Well, one's takes, another's probably this castles, and knights, and c3.
Very good. Now there's one more candidate move, which turns out to possibly be the best move that wasn't played in the game. But I don't believe that.
24.
What's that?
24?
No, it's a forcing move. Once you find out, let's just say we deal with the ones that we have. For example, queen takes b7 looks like it's going to win the rook.
Yeah.
The problem with queen takes b7 winning the rook is that black can defend by attacking.
Right.
With.
Oh, right. So queen d4.
That's a counter-attacking move. So basically there's so many players that would just start to bail out by trying to defend the rook, right? But you have to attack in order to defend. So knowing that the queen can go to b4, it's been well known that bishop takes f7 check actually wins the rook on a8.
What about bishop d2?
No, you just by force you can take on b7, you displace the queen, and then you have a free rook.
Oh, right, I suppose.
So you're taking literally 2 pawns and a rook for your bishop. They might get a pawn back.
I know enough about this game that Steinitz was the one who was like, yeah, that's the best one, dude.
Right. But there's actually a famous... There's a famous example of this game being shown by Bobby Fischer. If there's only one video of Bobby Fischer giving a lesson on video, it is this one. So Bobby Fischer talks about a number of these nuances, and he says this is the brute force method of winning, but it wasn't Morphy's style. And also Morphy is at the Paris Opera House in 1858. just for a little bit of cultural history. He's first time in Paris. Arsenal fan Richie, good morning. How are you? Founding subscriber. You can get your founding subscriber badge now at Arsenal fan Richie by running over there and subscribing.
Amen. Hey,
Wait.
How you doing?
I misspelled it. Yeah, so in this particular situation, with what's going on here, Paul Morphy was actually being hosted by the Duke and the Countess Ward and Duke, the Duke of Brunswick, in the Paris Opera House in 1858. They're in one of the box seats. They're playing chess instead of paying attention to the opera, which I'm sure that's what all the elite do instead of paying attention to the opera. And he doesn't want to humiliate them in brute force. And maybe he's making this game last for the duration of the opera because maybe they're taking their time. But at the same time, the Paris Opera House, everybody, is only 5 years old at this point. It was actually newly built, I found out on a chess trip to Paris. It was newly built in 1853, and I never got to the Opera House. I actually wanted to put it on my list of places to go. But it's humongous, the Opera House, and it was built in 1853, so I can almost picture Morphy sitting in one of the box seats with the smell of fresh wood, the new car smell of the Opera House, while he's playing this royalty in this game. So he plays knight to c3 to prevent, as you pointed out, Rogan, queen to b4 check. Knight to c3, c6.
Yeah.
And we're just going to run through this game because I just want to talk about some of the principles of the foundations of the ideas behind this game that make it so good. Because the moves itself are not it. c6 defends the pawn with the queen. Again, black is being very passive.
So you want c6?
c6. Not knight c6, which leads to a fork, but c6.
Sorry, what, c6?
Yep.
Queen c6?
Knights, just pawn to c6.
Oh, pawn to c6.
Yeah, whenever we don't see a piece. That's okay. But notice how passive everything is for black, right? This is one of those things where I was telling you earlier, I don't want you to defend. I really don't want you to defend. Yeah. If you find yourself defending, and to paraphrase Fisher from another position, chances are you've done something wrong. Chances are you are worse. You're clearly worse if your only choice in the position is to be defending. Yes, it is the in tempo and in the values, actually. I try to teach the values of the pieces in this game as well. Because we've talked about tempi before, and we talked about time, as Arsenal fans just reiterated. But bishop to g5, of course, is the most natural attacking move. Now, black doesn't have a single active piece.
Yeah.
Bishop to g5 was played. That's really a good case of experienced master versus amateur here. And we talked about the values of the pieces. Knight on the third rank is worth a knight. Knight on the fourth rank is worth a bishop. As the knight gets closer to the opponent's position, if it's an outposted piece, it's actually far more valuable than a bishop. Bishops don't necessarily change in value so much, except for the fact that they need access to open diagonals, or perhaps in the endgame being able to control the queening square or the rook's pawn square. They don't really change in value, so one bishop could be worthless, whereas the other bishop might be the best bishop in the world. So meanwhile, now white is how many moves away from finishing the opening? Connecting their rooks?
0. Well, 1.
1. Unfortunately, I've cheated again. Yes, is 2 moves away in this position. 2 moves away. And how many moves will it take black?
Well, 1, 2, 3, 4.
4, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to mention that in this particular position, a pawn is worth 1, but how much do you think 1 is worth? I've said it in my stream before.
Sorry, pawn is worth 1, but how much is 1 worth?
How much is that 1 actually equal to in the terms of time? Arsenal's already said it, of course. He's been here before.
Yeah, well, Arsenal fans always he's got the answers. I'm just.
Well, I mean, he's been in my stream since the very beginning. That's absolutely the case.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I have no idea how long I've been there.
No, ironically, I think you came in the second month or so. You've been around for a long time. Yeah. But no, a pawn is worth 3 moves of time, roughly.
Okay.
A pawn is worth 3 moves of time, and that amount of time is the amount of time it usually takes a developed piece to capture a pawn and then perhaps return to safety. And in that time, the opponent could bring out 3 pieces. We're going to see it in this game after bishop g5, for example. Black plays b5 here.
Oh, b5. Oh, okay.
Which is rather rash. And while I think the Arsenal fan was suggesting better moves for black, we're not going to get too sidetracked because this is only an illustration of what is and what should be. Now notice that black did not make a developing move. So it's still taking black 3 moves of time to finish the opening. So white's next move does not lose a knight. It merely exchanges the knight for 2 pawns and a heck of a lot of time. Bishop takes b5, knight on b to d7, and castles queenside. Now you can see that black is really on his back foot. I'm sorry that this is actually the position where I taught Ben Feingold something a long time ago, and for the life of me, I'm drawing a blank on it. I wish I had clipped it, because he did a whole recap of this game in his stream with me showing this in a collegiate class, and then he showed my entire lesson, and I can't remember it, because I show this the game all the time, and I may remember it accidentally again. But needless to say, after rook to d8,
rook to d8, right? Yeah.
Black still isn't able to connect his rooks. He's still 3 moves behind in time. So white just exchanged the knight for 2 pawns and a huge time advantage. As so rook takes d7, rook takes d7, and we attack the pinned piece again. Queen to e6 tries to unpin because there's nothing safely defending that rook.
Yep.
Bishop takes d7, knight takes d7, and
right. Sorry, what was it?
Bishop takes d7. Yeah, you went immediately for moving the defender. I admit it.
Check.
Yeah. Okay.
Knight takes d7, and then the game finishes with.
Sorry. Hang on. Oh right, yeah. Okay.
Check.
Very good. Now, many of the young students, of course, that I teach still associate queen to b8 with losing their queen. Yeah. Right? That whole lose word cannot be said or manifested. That word should not be in our vocabulary at all. You are merely exchanging ideas with the opponent. Hopefully you'll get compensation for material that you exchanged that will be proper, etc. In any event, I don't know how many more we can do because you've been up all night, sir.
Oh, it's quite all right.
All right, what a beast. Yeah, this is not unlike a normal lesson for me, except for the fact that the material might be flying through a little bit at a different level for each.
Yeah. Getting going.
But in a sense, the active pieces versus the passive pieces, huge disparity for the most part in those things. Oh, who posted that one? Offerspiel. Good. I'm glad. Sorry, this disappeared for a moment as I had to make the announcement for the Offerspiel arena. The last one, right. I believe, for the month of May.
Cool.
And yeah, because they added me to their leadership team, and I feel obligated to make sure I get that message out. It starts in 20 minutes, but I'm not playing. It's Bullet. I will look to see if Magnus is playing. Bullet. If Magnus is playing, which he could be, I better look. So here we are.
Played Magnus?
What's that?
Have you played Magnus?
No, I've played in the same tournament as him close to a half a dozen times, thanks to Offerspiel. Thanks to Offerspiel, it brought me up. Otherwise, I've been in the same titled arenas with him a few times on Saturdays. Right. But he only plays the Bullet ones, and I tend to not want to play the Bullet ones. But why is that? Yeah. It's because my understanding is not at a core level. You know, Arsenal fan is not a fan of Offerspiel, but he prefers Counterspiel, which is sacrificing a sacrificing game versus a counterattacking game.
Yeah. Isn't there this there's this thing that tells you how many degrees you are from someone else in the game of chess, like how many degrees you are from certain players?
Oh, that's very cool. I forgot what that command is. Is it degrees?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you've mentioned before how many degrees you are from Magnus, like 2, I think. You said you were 2 deep.
I think I'm 2 away. I might... 1 away would mean that I've played him, right? Let's see this. Degrees. I'm going to try it. Degrees.
Cough my lungs out in the background.
What is his name? Dr. Nichterstein? Oh man, I have to actually be able to spell it. Oh, that's horrible.
I got spell. That's why I don't have commands like that. I just can't spell, so it's...
Oh, yeah, it's brutal. I'm never going to remember it.
Yeah. Yeah, you should have just picked a normal, a normal sort of name, but you went for the really complicated one.
Yeah.
Okay. What are we doing?
Anyway, we're gonna. I'm trying to bring us back in the direction of the previous one. So we dealt with the 3 Philidor's positions. I consider them, and if we looked at it, Rogan, where the Philidor position is an essential rook and pawn ending motif that you have to know. I consider those 3 games that we just looked at the essential Philidor's. The essential Philidor's game collection. There's actually another one, but I'm going to try to keep moving here since we have not seen the other one, which is also a very valid, since we started off, I think the thing that inspired me here was the King and Queen 3, right? This position, which is basically finding the centralization and attacking things that are not there. So the next game, which of course you already know the von Bartolybin game, but we're going to fly through it just for the sake of. I also just want to mention this one too, because I saw somebody struggling with it earlier. Black to move in this position. There are 3 very logical moves, but one of them, for whatever reason, not saying anything, is better than the others.
Yeah.
So black to move in this position.
I don't know.
Well, first off, just list all the good moves. No, list all the good moves for black. Okay. As though you were just choosing from them like candidate moves.
Okay, knight c6, knight f6, d6, bishop c5.
Okay, good. Okay. Well, d6 isn't really one of them, interestingly enough, but bishop c5 is common. So I'm actually going to put bishop to c5 on the board, because I used to love to play the bishop's opening, only because I wanted to see the degrees to which the opponents knew what was going on. And now if we identify the weaknesses in black's position, white has a choice between attacking 1 weakness or 2.
Okay. How do I go about?
So white to move.
Is this like Even Gambit or something.
No,
sorry.
not quite. But you're right. There is
Uh,
something there. We could do the Kizaritsky Immortal game, etc., and so on. But let's not do that.
Wow, yeah. Goodness. Well, I mean, I don't play E4 positions. So I'm very new to this.
Yeah. I'm not asking you to play E4 positions. This, sir, is about finding weaknesses and attacking weaknesses in a pure position, not knowing any opening theory. I'm not asking anyone to know any openings. Basically, F7 is attacked once, defended once, you attack it once.
D4, bishop or bishop C3.
You mean knight C3, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Well, knight C3 has less purpose. It's certainly a fine, upstanding move, but it has less purpose, but for occupying D5. D4 is definitely the gambit of a pawn. But your move queen to G4, what were you attacking with queen to G4?
Was G7.
Right, so you spotted that weakness. So there's one more weakness in the position.
Right. I mean, pawn C3, maybe?
Well, yes, you could be knocking that bishop. So you have done Steinitz von Barleyburn, and you do have some king pawn grounding. I definitely can see that. But E5 is not protected. So knight F3 is a very logical move, right?
Yeah.
But you have another way to attack it, which is played by younger players, which is a double attack, which is queen H5.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
Many players defend against queen H5 with what move?
I can't do that. Here.
Ideally, they do defend the one threat, but then queen takes E5 check exposes more weaknesses. Queen takes E5 check, picks up a rook, a bishop, perhaps. It's tragedy, right? But many young players will see only the one weakness being attacked. They don't see the second weakness being attacked. Now, granted, Garry Kasparov believed that queen to F6. He said so in trying to remember the name of the book. It was not quite Garry Kasparov Teaches Chess, but it might have been in Garry Kasparov Teaches Chess as well. But he prefers the move queen F6 to defend against the four-move checkmate. For several reasons. Yeah. Even if this knight comes out to defend, then queen G6 not only attacks the queen, but also targets G2. So Garry Kasparov is on record saying queen F6 is his choice to defend against the four-move checkmate. Interestingly enough, though, we could have nipped this in the bud with a very purposeful move straight away, which I always say the general rule is that if E5 is not attacked, then we should not defend E5. I saw someone, I am hungry, she has begun streaming again. You know, she plays these positions as black. So her opponent plays queen to H5, and she defends this pawn with knight F6. I'm sorry, knight C6. And then after bishop C4, she actually thought for a very long time here, which of course she found a reasonable move. It was pretty funny that the opponent played queen D3 and then just walked right into this, and then resigned. So it's like a typical youthful game with the family fork. I believe I actually clipped that. I clipped that from her stream because I found it very amusing. But what I want you to realize is that black has several good moves in this position to defend against queen H5. Not just queen F6. Not just knight C6. But
I quickly, I've got to say with some sense of urgency, I'm going to find the toilet very quickly.
Oh,
so,
no worries. Hurry back. I'll chat with Arsenal for a moment. I do want to bring my degrees to Magnus up. But I think I'm going to find where is he? I just have to go to the main page, look at the community players, and then copy his name. And then we can put in degrees. Dr. Nichterstein. What? Oh, I have to type my name. The degrees is for everyone. I think I'm 2 degrees away. Oh, there's a cooldown factor. Grr. Degrees triangle. I'm 3 degrees. In Blitz. Ah, but I think I'm only 1 degree away in Bullet. Okay, let's try it. I believe that I'm only 1 degree away in Bullet. I mean, I should say 1 less degree away in Bullet. I have beaten Father Gascoigne. That is my highest rated win, I believe. Father Gascoigne is Sebastian Mihailov. Yeah, I'm 2 degrees away in Bullet and 3 degrees away from Magnus and Blitz. So you type degrees and your name, basically. Degrees. And now, because you played me, you should be only 1 more away than I am. Degrees wrote Kingslayer Sloan. But let's see if I'm your link.
Oh, I think there might be a candidate master in there somewhere.
No. Oh, it switched to Bullet. Or no, that was Arsenal Fan. Arsenal Fan got it in ahead of you. He's 3 degrees away. Arsenal Fan is Nihal Sarin. Wow.
I thought there was a feeder master in there somewhere.
Hold on. I'm trying to bring it up. I think Kingslayer Sloan is spelled properly.
Capitals on each of the
No, it's not Kingslayer. Nothing. Bupkus. Probably because you've never played Bullet. Let's do Blitz.
Oh, right. Yeah. I don't play Bullet too often.
I don't know which one of us typed it faster. Arsenal Fan was on it at the same exact time. I tell you, Arsenal's so much younger than I thought he was. I'm so used to everybody being closer to my age. You're 5 degrees away from Magnus, and it's thanks to Conte, and you are thanks to Conte de Luna. But that doesn't seem right. You've played me in Blitz.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Maybe.
You should be only 4 degrees away through me. I thought I found a glitch with this.
I don't know. What a weird little thing.
Right?
Yeah.
It only counts rated?
I've played a couple of feeding masters along the way, so like you would think.
But all of my games with Rogan have been rated, so it's tricky. I don't play unrated games ever, hardly. Is it possible that you haven't beaten me in Blitz? You've only beaten me in Rapid? Is that possible?
I'm terrible at Blitz.
So that's possible. Probably. Maybe that's why. That makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. Because if you haven't beaten me in Blitz...
It's like once.
Yeah, it's possible that we've only drawn in Blitz.
True. I do have a tendency to throw draws everywhere.
There you go. So in this particular position, I want to entertain the possibility of the Gambit, which is knight f6.
Ooh.
I'm just going to bring this up. I actually just clicked on Stockfish, and it has it as relatively even, like a smidgen above a smidgen above 0. Can you imagine that you get to attack the queen and defend?
I mean, it's a dream come true, really.
Right. So basically, in this particular position, I even know one of my students had this position recently, and then the queen is being attacked, and there's nothing they can do about
it. Yeah.
Literally, they're giving back the pawn. They haven't developed any pieces. And like the first game that we looked at, not the Legals, mate. Yeah, we could also use that one. 9 points of material, and the queen goes to go pack.
Yeah.
But for the price of a pawn.
Yeah. Like readable.
Yeah. But in general, I'm just going to fly through this just a little bit. This is to be, oh, I know what game I'm going to do. I actually want to do this game. This is a game that we don't get to do that often.
Okay.
So, candidate moves for black here. Obviously, there are two distinct moves.
1d6 for 1d6 and knight f6. Knight a5.
No, we're not moving the same piece twice. That's something you have to write down now on a notepad there. Do not move the same piece twice in the opening. You might have to write that 500 times if you catch yourself doing it again. Just write it 20 times on a piece of paper to never happen.
This should be fun.
Well, so they're only... You mentioned a lot of pawn moves.
Did I?
Inadvertently. I did not consider any pawn moves for black in this position.
Right.
I only consider piece movements because the opening is a race with which you want to beat your opponent in activating your pieces. So imagine that you are setting up the chessboard to start a tournament game and you leave several pieces in the chess box.
Yeah.
This just would not be done, right? You wouldn't leave the chess pieces in the chess box because they'd be missing from the board. Yet, most players actually start their chess games and never move a piece. For a while. Now I'm going to get back to this one. Right. How many pieces do you start the game with?
I gotta count them actually.
On one side. Just on one side.
Eight big pieces and 8 little pieces. 16 pieces.
Interesting. Now what if I told you that? Now what if I told you that all the... I know, but it's leading to a further riddle. It's okay. Because I want it to be a grip of understanding, like a vice grip of understanding. All of the pieces can move backwards.
Yeah.
All of the pieces, but those aren't pieces. When does a pawn become a piece?
I mean, I don't know. I just assumed he was. He was.
When he reaches the other side. So the pawn increases. So the pawn increases in value as he reaches the promotion square. How much value we don't know. So we're talking about intrinsic values and core understanding and all of that. Now I've done this lesson, I don't know how many times. This training, I would rather call it training because we're basically training you to always consider this prospect and possibility. So if I say that you have to develop all of your pieces faster than your opponent, you don't move 8 pawns. In fact, you'll only move the minimum number of pawns to get all the pieces out. And the pieces, like we said, have to be out in order for you to play the game. It's like the football team. You know, if you're allowed 11 men on the field, is it 11 plus the goalie or is it 10 plus the goalie? Hold on, I'm drawing a blank here. Arsenal?
I don't know, it's football. It's not a sport in New Zealand.
It's not a sport. Okay, rugby. How many are
national shame play football.
All right, let's go with the All Blacks then. How many men are the All Blacks allowed to put on the field?
I don't know.
Uh-oh. That's all right.
My brain's dead. My brain's dead. I couldn't tell you anything.
15! Thank you, Arsenal. 15!
Sorry.
15. In American football, it is 11. So I have to apologize for slipping. In American football, Joe's no warrior. How are you? I love the C. Bruvis emoji. You know, we're way overdue for giving Arsenal fan Richie and RoganJoeSloan a shout out. Way overdue.
My grand audience of John.
Yeah. So meanwhile, I just wanted you to realize the general rule, what we were talking about before, is that if the e5 pawn is not attacked, so for example, against bishop c4, we want to attack white's e4 pawn. Now queen h5 is met by a very brutal blow, because there will be no checkmate. So therefore, if they don't attack the e5 pawn, we attack the e4 pawn. And this actually applies to everything, including the gambit idea, which was knight f6. At the level at which I am hungry and many others are playing, Alexei, how are you? You put a challenge in. We're in the middle of some training here. I don't know that I'm going to be able to honor this challenge.
Alexei's really great with knowing when you're busy.
Yeah, I know. Alexei, 1978. Arsenal fan for the hydrate. Thank you.
Yeah.
Only 11 minutes in. Yeah. I put the timestamps on my chat just so that I can know how many minutes I've been blowing people off. I apologize, Richie.
Yeah, it's okay. Attacking stuff.
Attacking stuff, yeah, asserting yourself. Basically, it's all mindset. The vast majority of this is mindset. Attacking your opponent, asserting yourself. Basically, you have to be the first person to plant the seed in your opponent's mind that he's going to lose.
Yep.
And I agree that my modesty is endearing, as I'm going to try to find that comment again from Arsenal fan. I'm not sure if he was talking about me with our Blitz record or what. Agreed that you have to plant the seed in your opponent's mind. Yes, I think that's what he's agreeing with.
Oh, what? Well, maybe.
Uh-oh, Arsenal. Pegasus believes I need a hat. And he might be right.
Yeah. I mean, I only brought it up because an Arsenal fan, Richie, said you wanted to talk about it. And I'm like, who am I to deny John his?
Right?
Yeah. Oh, goodness me. Yeah, we'll try not to bump my internet cable. So one thing I need. Well, actually, there's probably a few things I need. But the point is, one of the things.
Right.
There we go.
So for the most part, wherever we are, one of the really truly great things about this, bishop c4, is that the in this particular position, there's the Hungarian defense, which I'm not a huge fan of. By any means, I'm not a huge fan of the Hungarian defense. It's basically to buy time, preventing the four-move checkmate. Sorry, the fried liver attack. I was talking about the four-move checkmate before. And just developing our stuff. Now, I know that you play totally different openings than the ones that we are core grounding our understanding in right now. These,
if you call them London opening, I mean, some people don't.
Yeah, these games are essential because they illustrate those core foundations so well.
Yeah.
And that's key on the whole. So bishop to e7 is a relatively passive defensive move. Bishop to c5 is, of course, a move that not only prevents d4, but does not allow the fried liver attack again. And after the move knight f6, white has a choice between several moves. What do you think white's most common move here would be? In answer,
you talking about like the small children, or
doesn't matter what age. I think that To me, there
five is pretty common.
are only three good moves here for white in this position, honestly.
Well, there's knight g5, and there's myriad of ways to defend against such.
Well,
But
yes, there's knight g5. Keep going.
yeah, and then, well, I guess there's knight c3.
Knight c3 is defending. I said never defend.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem with knight c3 is that it does not defend. It leads to problems in this area. Unfortunately, though, white can castle, and we have the Stafford Gambit on the white side. This is actually where it comes from. I mean, if white is doing this well as white, so basically in this particular position, this is the main thing that you have to watch out for. But of course, if you do get this in, then black is not only equal, but he might even be better. Because of the momentum, the initiative, planting the seed of defeat in your opponent's mind. So knight c3 is not a move, so that leaves only two more moves that you can play. Castles might lose a pawn.
And d3.
So d3 defends, that's a real defense. But I said never defend, so you can attack.
I'm trying.
That's all right. How do you attack e5? Attack e5. You're doing great, sir.
All right. Nothing.
I want to see your rating pop up 100 points this week.
I mean, so do I, but...
No, I believe you will. I don't think you're going to attack at all this week, because you really do well when you're attacking. And your name is quintessential to the cause.
Yeah, well, I did steal it from Game of Thrones. So what is, what does it mean? So moves for whites that don't attack. I mean,
well, how do you attack? How do you attack e5? So knight g5 you got, d3 you got, which is unfortunately very passive. That only works for Magnus Carlsen because he can bob and weave until move 90. But the only other move in this position is d4,
which seems really wrong to me for some weird reason.
No, you grab space. Or you could offer the pawn as part of a bigger picture here by castling.
Yeah.
Now this is a different kettle of fish. We'll return to this one later. But basically, I just want you to see how black and white are fighting for the center. Basically, by being aggressive, or by being solid. This is my least favorite for weaker players because you got to give yourself a chance. And as Arsenal know,
the moment I start doing that, I start losing.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, he's written a novel in my chat.
What's that?
All right, okay. He's written himself a novel in the chat. You want me to publish it, Arsenal?
That's not a novel.
I'm going to have to put it through an editor first. But,
yeah, attacking the center using your own center. Exactly. Pawn breaks. I'm trying to recall the author. I'm drawing a blank right now. But there's one relatively strong player who believes that the essence of every good position consists of proper pawn breaks. Being able to use your pawns to pry open.
I don't know. That's a
position.
I was thinking like it doesn't sound like something I know.
Yeah, Arsenal wants me to go further into d4, but basically, yeah, opening up lines. This move to me is easily the best move for the intermediate player to test the opponent's will. And d4 is the first person to make a pawn break. Like, you know how I have my rooks example, and I would almost be able to chalk that up to pawn breaks. The first person who managed to essay a legitimate. What books would teach these ideas for beginners? Well, I'm positive that these concepts are covered in all the books that are usually for beginners, like Silman's Reassess Your Chess. Although I haven't read that one. Logical chess, move by move, absolutely. Bobby Fischer teaches chess is more rudimentary. That's not one of them. What books? Chess for Dummies has to cover it. Well, that's not necessarily a book for beginners. The Immortal Games of Capablanca is where I learned. I went through the entire Immortal Games of Capablanca by Reinfeld, and it was priceless. Oh my God, priceless.
Made you a master, didn't it?
No, I wouldn't say that made me a master. That made me solidly a first category player. A solidly first category player. The player that made me a master or a candidate master was going over Alekine's games after I went through all of Capablanca's games. When I went through all of Alekine's games, I'm taking like the positional nature versus the attacking, dynamic, aggressive nature of Alekine, the precision of Alekine, and then I took it to the next level with Petrosian, who glued everyone together. Now, granted, I did study a lot of other world champions, including a lot of Paul Kara's as well, but the Immortal Games of Capablanca, not just for inhaling anymore, you should play through the moves.
All right.
Yes, I'm going to admit it. I did inhale.
Okay.
Meanwhile, asserting yourself. Arsenal fan wasn't here earlier when I was emphasizing the space concept in the end game, as well as this is an out of print book called The Immortal Games of Capablanca, and it was typed in the chat by Arsenal fan just before. But there are also some really good books, like Golombek's book, Capablanca's Best Chess Games. Basically, if you look for Capablanca, I'm not sure that I can recommend as easily Capablanca move by move, but I'm certain that Lakdawala gets the job done. Hold on, I want to see. Yeah, Lakdawala gets the job done. I have 2 copies of Unknown Capablanca, written by Dale Hooper and Bradwin.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, just being able to play through the moves on a real board, absolutely. Very priceless. Being able to play through the moves, something that Rogan and I really don't have time for in our streaming.
Oh, I don't know. I probably have a lot of time. I just don't use it, probably. I mean...
Yeah, no, I know.
I don't know.
What we need is a DGT board. Yeah, using the principles.
Really cool. This board, I probably showed you it before. In fact, I know I have. But I think it's called.
In fact, Big T 252. I have said this in many a stream before when somebody comes in asking what can they study, and I say study complete games of a good player from beginning to end. Just absorb what they do and read their comments. And Capablanca is the #1 guy who plays somewhat modern openings without being stuck in the Paul Morphy era. You know, like if you study Paul Morphy, you're going to get a lot of rudimentary stuff, some very energetic and pleasant games. But Capablanca takes you through those things more quickly. What's that?
Start with modern chess.
Started with pseudo-modern chess. The birth of the modern era, because when Capablanca loses to Richard Reti in 1924, he has an eight-year undefeated streak, and he loses to Richard Reti, and Richard Reti is playing the hyper-modern stuff, the knight f3, g3, which is not yet taken over, right? he really got educated in that game. So literally, he had an 8-year undefeated span, and the only thing that was going to unseat him was hypermodern chess. And Richard Retke got him. So meanwhile, I am going to go with d3 for the moment. And after bishop c5, white castles, candidate moves for black. What do you think? I'm going to try to keep...
I'd make castles, d6.
It's getting tougher, right?
Yeah, I mean,
interesting.
I don't know why, but I'd say a6 maybe. I don't know.
There you go, a6 indeed. So the three moves. Ironically, we've got the jettisonable silicon little friend in the background. But interestingly enough, very commonly played in these positions are h6 or others, d6.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm going to tell you next is that when people play the move d3, they have a very singular plan in mind, and that is to try to take advantage of black's castling. So usually they play this canal variation very seriously with the idea of taking advantage of a pin on a knight on f6. Yeah. So by castling, interestingly enough, we could actually blunder our way into an awkwardly difficult position here. Now we can still break this position, but we have to do it now, otherwise we're in trouble. Right?
Okay.
So if we're not careful in this position, we can get run over on the king side. Basically, let's just say for a moment that black plays a move like a6, and already there's a problem on f6. Yep. Basically, it subsists along these lines, and then the queen shuttles its way to g3 for checkmate.
Yeah.
There was a time when I was early on when I was teaching, I actually told many of my students, because they would reach this position quite often, like if you're going to really reach this position, you should play king h8, just because the bishop on h6 is more valuable than the rook on g8. Yeah. That did not work out that well. That was when I was in my early days of teaching in the 80s for the most part. But there was a point behind it. There was a point behind it, which basically said, if they don't give away their dark squared bishop, the rook on g8 is going to be more valuable, etc.
Right.
So in this position, though, even knight to b8 could be considered to go to d7. Bishop to e6 or h6 can try to stop this incursion. But the thing that I'm going to try to introduce here, for the sake of pawn play, is that black does not need to castle. In your queen pawn openings, you don't need to castle, by the way. Right away. Why is that?
Because there's enough piece. It's a more closed position.
Because it's a closed position. So what did white do here, right? As Arsenal fan was asking me to expound upon the importance of white playing d4, right?
Yep.
The importance of white playing d4 is because if your opponent does not know the rules of king safety, you are going to be after them in no time. You go zip, zip, zip. Thank you very much. But if your opponent, if you play d3 and never go after your opponent, they could do whatever they want for at least, like I said, Magnus Carlsen can take his 90 moves to win this game after d3. You and I don't have that same luxury because for us, the game is a little bit more of a lottery. Every time we make a move, it's a 50-50 shot whether or not we're going to make another 10 moves. That are good for us, I should say.
Magnus is really solid. You know?
He's so solid that he knows, he's going to win on move number 90 or 136, as Nepo found out.
What is that? It's like the world champion, solid. Come on.
It's quite crazy. Exactly.
I don't know. Who would have guessed it, huh?
Indeed. So for the most part, in this particular position, d6 is the most flexible move. And after bishop to g5, I'll try to,
Yeah.
need to turn my arrows off here for a moment. Why are there arrows? There we go.
Not entirely.
Now I'm in business. The best move arrow is showing up on my board, which I don't think was showing before.
Right.
So meanwhile, black to move.
Oh,
This is a good habit to build up.
I'm Bishop G4 looks alright.
Bishop G4, indeed. Very reasonable. More?
Or, I mean, you just said before that I don't really need to cast so much.
Exactly. So you have two other moves that may be more useful.
H6.
Yes.
And then queen something.
Not so much queen, but you have to keep in mind that you have another square for your bishop.
Oh, A6?
E6, yes.
Oh, right.
Because if they capture, yes, we might want to use the open F file. I want to mention that the concept of weak white squares, which was taught to me through the games of Alekhine, basically if black does play a move like this, let's just say white plays this, then we don't want to weaken our white squares unnecessarily, such as in this manner. So in general, playing for a concept like this with the move h6 already in, let's say for a moment that black plays h6 and we go for bishop e6, this is still a little bit more of a faux pas given the weakness of the white squares around our king. Exactly. It may not happen right away, but it could affect us for the rest of our known lives.
I don't think it's going to be that long, but...
Our known chess game life.
At least the game's like 80 years, and you're making a move every year, and you're doing a really solid job of playing.
Right.
I don't know.
So Arsenal fan has nudged us in the direction of h6 and candidate moves for black. Now this is the fascinating part, because I was at this, I played a lot of these games when I was younger.
Yeah.
Just for historical sake. Go ahead.
Pawn G5, a knight D4, bishop E6, bishop G4.
But remember, we wanted to take bishop E6 possibly out of the equation. Even though it might be okay. Granted, we can castle on the queen side. We haven't castled yet. So all hands are still on deck as far as bishop E6 is possible. I actually want
Okay, then I'd be just trying to pin the knight.
Yeah,
having a good day
G5, bishop G4, and it's very difficult. At the master level, the only other move that's been really played is A6, believe it or not. But I think that was by transposition. I'm not entirely sure that B5 and knight A5 is really a part of the equation.
Yeah.
Thank you, Arsenal fan. Appreciate it. Yes, we're headed in that direction. We are going to play G5, and before Arsenal goes, black's candidate moves here.
Knight H5. Well, again, knight D4.
Try not to move the same pieces twice. Let's consist of...
Oh, I mean, okay, we'll pin something then and have fun.
Yeah, there you go.
Bishop G4.
Bishop G4 is one.
I mean, Bishop D7 is passive.
It's too passive, right?
Pawn H5.
Pawn H5, keep going.
Pawn G4, just to knock that bishop around.
Possibly, yeah.
Have fun with it.
Absolutely. So, in general, Queen E7 at the master level, Queen E7, H5, and believe it or not, even Bishop E6, because we are castling our king on that side of the board. They want the open F file as well.
Okay.
have been won for black at the master level. But interestingly enough, the move that I did not have the courage to play when I was younger, and it is played here by Chigorin, is h5 because it allows knight to g5.
Hmm. I mean, I would do it, just that I wouldn't see that the pawn was hanging.
Right. No, I actually did not play it specifically when I was about, 1375 or 1300, because after I was 1300, I switched over to the Najdorf. God help me, that kept me from becoming a master.
Goodness.
Had I stayed playing e5, I would have probably become a master much faster than studying all the opening theory that I needed to know to play the Najdorf. It was just such a colossal waste of time. I did get some exciting positions, and I did learn something, but I wasted a lot of time studying openings. So here,
Don't play the.
yeah.
So okay, just trying to make a joke there.
That's all right. I'm sorry that I missed it.
And I just report that.
So interestingly enough, after the move, black to move in this position.
Huh. Okie dokie, that's a tough one, isn't it?
There are 3 moves in this position, believe it or not.
Yeah, I mean,
not all of them are.
It's try not to lose something. I will try not to
exchange something.
Compensation. Yeah, yeah. You try to have some compensation. You know.
Right.
Okay. So takes click there. Doesn't really work for me. Or does it not? So that doesn't really work, I don't think. So queen e7 or queen d7.
And what was the third move that you were looking at?
I was looking at pawn takes g3.
Absolutely, that is the probably the strongest move in the position. Let me just make sure of that. No, queen e7 is definitely the strongest move. Not allowing it, but this is better for black. But white has a chance to equalize here by taking the rook.
Why doesn't he just take the queen?
That is our main line, of course. Because the next move for you is pretty obvious. If you want to activate all of your pieces, you don't have to recapture even. You get to attack something more valuable.
I mean, the instinct goes pawn h2, but the king just goes to h1,
exactly.
Right?
So here's where Karpov had a really great rule about weaknesses. You don't necessarily want to capture them or attack them too soon, because then they're gone. What you should do with those weaknesses is wait for the moment to pile up on them and other weaknesses later. Meanwhile, the opponent loses time trying to defend the weaknesses that you've not bothered to yet attack or try to capture. So you actually gain time by not attacking weaknesses and by being more productive in your attack.
Yes.
So we only have one more piece to develop before we get our king out of the center, per se.
So, I mean, bishop c... and then bishop g4.
Yeah. Now let's just do a little bit of math here, since it's white's turn to move, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned the compensation. I'm glad you changed your vocabulary, because that's going to be huge for you. Yeah, it is. It's going to be huge for you, because we never actually lose anything. It's an experiment in exchanging ideas with the opponent.
Right, yeah.
You've exchanged your queen for 3, 6, 11, 12.
Okay, yeah.
12 points of active material. Look at black's pieces. I'm sorry, look at white's pieces.
Yeah.
He doesn't got anything but the bishop off the edge of the board. And this game has actually been played twice. Once by the father of Russian chess, and another time by a no-nonsense fellow in New Orleans in 1923. which we'll see both finishes. We'll see both finishes.
Morphe, not Trojan.
No, it was 1923. Morphe wasn't alive yet, but
what's he doing in? What's New Orleans got to do with it?
Because it was quite a good hub for chess for whatever reason. The game that we looked at before, Adam's Torrey, also took place in New Orleans in 1920. I think the Roaring 20s in the United States and all of that it was quite lively in the United States in the 20s. But that's a good question. There are quite a number of games that happen. But New Orleans is definitely Paul Morphy's bent. And in this particular position, we're going to continue with knight to d4.
Okay.
Now, no matter what black does in this position, I'm sorry, no matter what white does in this position, it's pretty much toast because there's an overwhelming force.
Yeah, because he can't defend the F2, and he can't defend E2, and he can't defend H2 all at the same time.
So, interestingly enough, after the move H3, there's a very simple and straightforward way to either A, get some of our material back with an overwhelming position. In fact, I think it's just dead lost for white. Suggestions for black?
Oh, so I want some Jish.
Always. Always. I want you to just train yourself to always be looking. Always be looking.
Okay, this is interesting stuff. For some reason, knight F3 has some fascination for me.
It does. And the other natural move is...
Well, knight E... Sorry, knight E... Oh, Jesus Christ, my kid's not working. Knight E2.
Right. Yeah. Which kind of forces either queen takes, giving up the F2 pawn, because not only are we getting our queen back, with this knight's still relatively trapped, but we have amazing pressure on F2, and we might even be promoting this bloody thing for the most part, depending on where the rook goes. So we're going to win even more material out of this deal after bishop takes E2. So king goes to H1, and then it's checkmate in 2 moves.
Takes. Okay. Ooh, okay. Pawn takes. Okay, pawn takes F2. And rook takes F2.
No, let's not. It's basically checkmate in 2 moves by force. Let's just put it that way.
So it's a ram it down the H file. All right, what am I thinking?
All right.
Bishop takes H. Bishop D. Yeah.
But unfortunately, the king might get away.
Yeah.
So the real key is that this diagonal is available to us if we remove the defender of F3.
All right, hang on. Bishop F3 doesn't work, does it?
No, because we can't let the king have G2.
Yeah. Okay. So knight F4.
I appreciate
we're winning by force, aren't we?
Yes, we're winning by force, which basically means that the moves are either checks or captures.
Okay. Takes, check. And then here.
It's 2 moves. Checkmate in 2 moves. And I know why you're not getting this. Because you've trained yourself not to lose material. Because you've trained yourself not to lose material, you are having a moment here.
I don't think I could tell you my name if I wanted to.
That's all right. You're gonna dream chess after this. Yeah, and game over. Oh, check, sir. Checkmate.
Oh, right. Huh? What am I doing?
Coordination.
Oh, right.
So remember when I did the bishop and knight mate at the beginning of the session, I had to include the bishop and knight mate because these things do occur, and there are a variety of those bishops and knight mates that occur around the king, especially if being Kenwood king. I think I lost to one the other day. W moves 2 ounces. I've always wondered what he's moving 2 ounces for when he could be moving 20 ounces. 20 ounces.
Oh, yeah.
It just seemed like he was wasting a name. Yeah, this game happens to be Ashley Tollett from New Orleans, 1923. It's a little bit easier to. This one is by force, a little bit easier to find. Let me just put it in here. I don't think it's in any of the databases. It might be in the database now, or maybe it is. I'm not sure if it's 2 T's or 1. I'm just going to leave it. I believe it's New Orleans, 1923. I'm just throwing it in there. But going back just a few moves, the same game was played in 1874 by Knorr versus Chigorin. Knorr happened to play the move knight c3, and now we get to go back to your other candidate move in this position. So far, I haven't had to dig out a book or look at any moves. This is all just from memory, unfortunately.
I have no idea what my candidate moves are. Oh, right. Knight f3.
Knight f3, indeed, and it's game over.
Check.
It must be captured, and then after bishop captures, there's no defense to the mate.
Yeah.
So we can get mated by a rook, or we could try, this is my personal favorite one, rather than taking with the rook and mating, we can always
Check.
just saturate the corners of the board with rooks.
Yeah.
I usually use this one with in classes to demonstrate that you don't need it to be a captured piece that needs to promote to. Because chess sets come with 2 queens, so they figure, oh, that's why they put an extra queen in there, because if your queen's not captured yet, they gave you an extra queen, but they can't get anything else.
Yeah.
So this is the original game, Knorr Chigorin, which actually ended here.
Yeah.
It's the same concept.
Very vintage, isn't it?
Notice that it's all about the activity of the pieces compensating for the values of the pieces.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah. And hold on here, I was drawing a blank on the one that I was going to show. I need to remember the name of it. Am I going to find it in a hurry in this one?
Oh, you'll find it.
Yeah, I might actually have to look in the back of the book. So it's based on a variation on a theme from Paganini. I mean, Capablanca.
What a name.
What a name. Capablanca. White gentleman. White horseman. It is page 160. I was right.
That was me. You can do it from the pages. I couldn't tell you anything.
I remember the page, or the game numbers, I should say. I just opened up a page of Alekhine beast moves there, that's for sure. The other game that I definitely wanted to see, it's not the same. No, it's not the same. Starting position. We're going to look at this one. Oh, yes. Compensation. Compensation. Counterattacking and attacking. Mainly attacking. So we're going to talk about the other one. E4, E5, knight F3, knight C6. Bishop C4, knight F6, and knight G5. We're going to go in this direction. There's a Reti game that I like to show in the 5d4 line that Irving Chernev indeed Pegasus is back. So black only has 3 moves in this position. Is that true? No, 2 moves in this position. Apologize, I thought I was on the next
The
position.
Traxler.
The Traxler, yes, which one of my students loves to play. And I give them full autonomy in choosing their openings. I try not to tell them that any particular move or opening is good, bad, or ugly based on anything. But what I do try to tell them is that if they follow through on their ideas, they will get rewarded. But if they're able to follow through on their ideas, and if they find that they cannot follow through on their ideas, as I played bishop takes f7 against someone, and then bishop to b3, they decided they didn't like this position with black. And I'm like, I don't blame you. But 9 out of 10 of your opponents at the present time for your level are going to play knight takes f7. But until people start taking on f7 with check on a 33% basis, or at least a 3 out of 10 ratio of sorts, you don't really need to give up the opening, because you'll still get an attack with queen to e8 and queen to g6 and rook to f8. All those ideas.
Yeah.
So you can play that move, but in general, after d5 and e takes d5, we also have
Knight a5.
knight a5 and another move.
Knight takes d5.
Well, knight takes d5 allows the chaos known as the fried liver. It's not the fried liver until knight takes f7 happens.
Okay. Interesting. What do I do here?
Attack.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, okay. So,
It was a loaded question, I know.
yeah, well, really. I'm not sure how do I attack that, though, to be fair. I have no idea how to. The last time I played the fried lever, I actually win theory against it, so I couldn't tell you a thing about it anymore.
No, but it's not that important. This is a basic principle of attacking and defending. You have a pawn attacking a knight, so therefore, if you want to make the similar counterbalance, that leaves only 2 obvious candidate moves.
What side am I on? Side am I on? Am I black or white here?
You're black, yeah. We should be on the black side, I hope. Yes.
Okay. I mean, I was going to go knight a5 because that's
Knight a5 is standard. We can definitely continue with that game. But I just want to mention that just like you played the Traxler, you mentioned the Traxler before, that was a counter-attacking move. It's a beautiful thing when you are young to be able to play those moves. It's like later in life, you're not allowed as much recess yard time. Bishop where?
Bishop g4.
That's a counter-attacking move. It might leave us a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I don't know
Logging.
why it would work, but it's an attacking move.
Mm-hmm. So
I don't know.
let's discuss. Let's just discuss the counterattacking levels. So if you attack their pawn, they attack your pawn, fine. But if you attack their pawn and they attack your knight, this is not good. They could attack your knight, you could attack their bishop in reply. Excellent exchange of attacks. You attack their rook, they attack your queen. We're escalating, right? Now, they could attack your queen. You could threaten checkmate in 1, and they can't take your queen. They get checkmated. Now, at the base level, though, if a pawn is attacking a knight, you could use a pawn to attack a bishop.
Oh, right. Oh. Pawn b5?
Yeah. Easily one of my students' favorite move, and it looks like Magnus Carlsen won a game against Arkady Knightish with it in 2006. So Magnus Carlsen also playing b5 in this position when he got the chance. There's another move, of course, that prepares it and it's knight to d4, because now at least the pawn will be protected.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go back to that Arcady Knightish game because I want to insert that one while I'm at it. Just because, for amusement factor. Bishop f1, by the way, is the best move for white.
Right.
You're not supposed to say right. You're supposed to say what? Why is bishop f1 the best move? That's what I said when I was your age.
Oh, right.
What the world? What is wrong with this universe? There's a hanging pawn on d5, on b5.
Oh.
That's the same line as the king. And I said,
I just assumed it would be something along the lines of queen d5.
queen takes d5, attacking both. But I mean, you can capture on c6 and get castled. Maybe all this will work out well with life. But actually, you're absolutely right. And it comes from the Fritz variation. So this is a theory called I think, Olfstad, although I can't necessarily so easily spell it. The Fritz variation, which is what I actually learned how to play. White plays c3 and black plays b5. And then the bishop goes back to f1. Same thing occurs. Counterattacking and counterattacking, attacking and counterattacking, etc. We're going to see all of this. We're going to see all of it. But basically, knight a5 is counterattacking. There's a famous game. In fact, my daughter's trophy in the back was won by 2 of the 5 games continuing this way. She was black, and she is attacking one of my white's most valuable things. In one game, the opponent went knight takes e5, queen takes g2, and in this position, she had to weigh up whether she wanted to win the queen or play for checkmate. What do you think? Win the queen or play for checkmate?
I don't know. I watched a video a while ago.
Yeah?
Something these lines, but...
That's interesting.
I don't quite remember what the person recommended, but I think taking the takes firstly I'd take the queen, but
yeah, I think taking the queen is guaranteed. My daughter took a huge risk. I had thought, wow, Stockfish gives this -10. Rather than give away that active knight for that queen on d1.
Yeah.
Is that insane? Anyway, my daughter's opponent played f3 and she checkmated him.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, after all these years, I have to tell her that she's right. This was one of her perfect games in a way. But had they not taken, it's the same thing. We take the more valuable kingside defender with exactly the same result. So knowing that this pawn is weak, we can go back to the fact that after b5, bishop f1 is the best move. However, we're going to continue on the counterattacking and attacking scale. If I can do this from memory, this is going to be great. So this is a game that was played in 1835. I could be off by a year.
Wee while before I was born, I think.
Yeah. So in this particular position, I just want to mention, if I can, how many moves will it take? I'm going to go along the main line here just for a moment. h6, e4, and bishop d6. This is all main line. Everybody's attacking everybody. Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Again, how many moves will it take white to complete the opening and connect their rooks?
1, 2, 3, 4.
And then black?
1. 2.
2. Exactly. So now black is down a pawn. This position is known to be relatively equal for both sides. Equal chances, by the way, not just drawing. But as it turns out, the real deal here is that, believe it or not, you also have to guard this pawn.
Yeah.
So one of the main lines runs along the lines of, let's say, knight to d2, castles, and then maybe knight to b3. Knight to f3 and continue. 9 out of 10 World Youth Championship players, I looked this position up. In the under age 8 World Youth Championship, I would say 4 out of 5 players would play h3 in this position. And then in black castles, it's still a 3-tempo gain or 3-tempo difference in the value. It's not exactly 3 tempi as valuable for the pawn. Black does have a lot of choices and things like that. We can go into Nesmedinov or Chiakoltia Nesmedinov or Pologaevsky Nesmedinov to see more of these games. Yeah, Nesmedinov played this as black very illustratively. But in the Waite versus Williams, which happens to be bishop to a4, black continues the counterattack. Losing my confidence here in this position as I'm usually sitting on the white side across from many students. I'm like, wow, I haven't looked at this position from the black side in a long time. I'd have to flip it.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second as I flip it. But my keyboard is not working.
Hey, I'll be back with you in a second. I'm going to grab a bite for you.
Oh, yes. This might be good time for a Ginka. Good morning. How are you? We're just covering a lot of classics. And the study that I'm doing with Rogan is from the ground up, basically in chess understanding from the lowest possible rank upwards, if at all possible. And that way we will be ready for a prime time. I think I should probably grab something too, if I knew any better. I should have left some of the burgers from yesterday. Nancy Thomas, how are you? First time chat for Rogan. Nancy Thomas.
Yeah, that was the guy. They screwed off as soon as they didn't hear me say anything. But I did, but they just you know.
Ah, I didn't hear you say. Got it. Yeah, pawn breaks is it's evening in Bulgaria, I imagine. It should be about 7, 8 o'clock in Bulgaria. Actually, it might be Central Europe. What am I thinking? It could actually be 9 o'clock in Bulgaria. So for the most part, trying to recall this position. Oh, God. I'm drawing a blank on my confidence. I'm going to grab it from 500 Master Games of Chess. It just feels weird. It just feels weird. Oh, I know what it's wrong. White played Queen F3, counterattacking. I don't need the book anymore. White played Queen F3, counterattacking the rook on H8, on A8, which is key. Black counterattacks the bishop, and the bishop flinches. And now white threatens F2.
Yep.
So white castles, black castles, and now white threatens H7. F7, and black asks the knight to please take F7 because the rook on F8 is not as valuable as the two pieces.
Yeah.
Just trying to recall how this works. No, I didn't do that right away. Did he? I feel like there's something wrong with this picture. Oh, I know what happened. He threatens here. Black actually attacks the queen.
Yep.
Queen moves out of the way. And then he actually offers him this bit. Where he attacks him again. Oh. That's what I always screw up. Black throws in the removing of the attacker. There. And basically, the bishop's being attacked, so he attacks back. The rook threatens the bishop. The rook threatens the bishop, so we attack back.
Yeah.
The knight attacks the queen, so the queen attacks back. The queen attacks these two pieces. I love this game only because they just keep equal attacking. Like say, when I mentioned pawn attacking minor piece, so you have pawn attacking minor piece. These guys are just body blow, and then this rook threatens those two. I'm hoping that you're on the right page on this. Yeah, you are. I flip my.
Hopefully.
I'm going to flip my board again because I was on the white side to recall what the move was. I couldn't remember what the move was. I actually had to switch over. So, as it turns out, everything's being attacked. So, what is Black's most likely move here? To continue the thought or the concentration of attacking and counterattacking. I don't want to run away with it.
No, you lost me years ago.
Well, I should have you moving the pieces. I was trying to speed it along so we can.
I'm just kidding, but no, seriously, you lost me. Okay.
I'm in the USA.
Queen G4 looks decent.
That's exactly correct, sir. Queen to G4. I'm going to let you play that one. Queen to G4.
Oh, thank you. Here we go.
And then Rook takes E4. Suggestions. Counterattacking, and counterattacking. Rook takes E4 as the defense. Now we're going to get into a little bit of the tediousness of activity. Black is still ahead in material. Black is still ahead of material because the bishop and the knight are more valuable than the rook. But how do we continue attacking?
I would
Carefully.
say trade. Well, actually, I wouldn't say that at all. But interesting. I don't know what I'm doing here. To be fair, my brain left me like.
Yeah, I know. I'm afraid that I can see you getting physically tired, and me too.
I can barely do a 3-hour chess tournament. I'm not.
Well, we haven't been streaming that long.
Thinking,
We've only been streaming 3 hours and 20 minutes. Barely 3 hours.
Yeah, I know. I used to do 5, and then I just realized that.
Well, this is
some weird reason.
This is an average lesson length for me if I have a student that can handle it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if they can handle it.
No, I have young students that sometimes can only make it 2.5 hours.
I mean, I would go. Hang on. I mean,
yeah.
Two things hanging.
We're drawing.
Okay, I maybe go. I was thinking Queen D1, and then Rook E1, and then Queen C1,
That's
taking
right.
a pawn and protecting the bishop, and then the knight hang. And it's a very nasty little situation.
Right.
I mean, trading. I don't really like trading my queens for rocks. Usually that doesn't do me a just service, but maybe I could sacrifice one of the pieces and with the bishop in order to attack, get an attack going.
Yes.
I was thinking perhaps queen takes rook, queen takes queen, then the rook E.
Well, I'm happy that you saw the Queen D1. Let me just try to focus you a little bit because we are on the same path as the Adams-Torrey game, in the sense.
Yeah.
I'm going to get to the end of that one. Basically, with the weak back rank, right? So knowing that we have the weak back rank, this gives you a little bit more license to be able to do things.
Okay, so I don't think I want to.
Oh, it's
So
18.
where's this background? I'm trying to think. Where is it? Okay, so there.
Just had to look up the year, because I've always been guessing at this year.
I don't know,
So, yes, queen to d1 is optimal. So what is the weakness that you're attacking besides the back rank? What is the queen attacking?
Well, the queen is attacking. Well, sorry, my queen.
Yep.
My queen's attacking his rook right now.
Yeah, it's not such a successful.
It's not very much a weakness. It's attacking the
D1 weakness
D1.
and G2. That's the thing I don't know if you're realizing, that you're attacking G2.
Oh, yeah. I don't know now. Yeah.
You're attacking it once, it's defended once. Therefore, you can attack it again.
Okay, let's see if I can do that. How would I do that?
Well, it's a white square, so we can't use the dark square bishop. The only thing available to us is.
Dictate.
And the knight is invulnerable because of the back rank weakness.
Right, I didn't see that. It's in this.
And this bridges together our theme of weaknesses based on attacking squares and threatening threats that are not actual material.
Yeah.
Threatening threats that are not actual material.
Real chess players watching this in pain and agony. Okay.
No, they're probably enjoying this with you. So G3, and now we continue with the counterattacking, but we want to keep the weakness. We want to keep the weakness of the back rank.
All right.
Ideally.
Oh, we do. Oh, yeah. Okay. Queen. Sorry. Rook E8 seems all right, but then.
Problem with rook E8 is that he has to take twice and then protect his back rank. Maybe. But maybe that works.
So, okay.
To make sure that the move that I'm looking at is still the move that I'm looking at. No, it's true. There's only one move in this position that wins.
Only one?
Only one.
Okay, well, only one.
And it has to do with lesser valued pieces attacking greater valued pieces. Counterattacking lesser valued pieces with I'm sorry.
I mean, the king's a very valuable piece.
Right. So what's defending the king from Queen D1?
Queen D1.
Yeah, if you wanted to play Queen, the rook, right? Okay. But what's defending? Yeah. What's defending the rook? But what's defending the rook?
Oh, the queen.
Can you attack the queen?
So, well, you probably. Bishop D6, maybe.
Bishop D6.
That's okay to me.
It is a move. It is. And white resigned. Oh, my camera is fading out there, right? But
somebody, well, the camera looks fine.
Yeah, bishop to D6 and white actually resigned here because there's no saving the queen. The queen is like Adams-Torrey, which was our first real game. We're going to finish on the same note so you can get some rest.
Yeah.
But
no, it didn't really feel like that, but yeah.
No, but the ultimate essence of everything, and you have played well in the past, is to make sure that you're asserting yourself. Keep an eye on what you're attacking. Not just pieces, not just pawns, but also the threats of greater things. Yeah. And the activity of the pieces is intrinsically linked to their value. All of white's pieces still on the first rank, but of course black did not use his rook, so we can't say that much. King safety decided this particular game. Counterattacking, counterattacking, counterattacking. On the whole. Just quite crazy.
Yeah, it's very chaotic and messy position, E4. Shivers.
Indeed.
E4 is so much more civilized.
Yes and no.
Just messing with you.
No, I'm actually trying to think. I actually love playing D4 because I believe it. Yeah, attacking the man's masculinity. Didn't see knight f4. Yeah, though this is one of the classic games of all time, Arsenal fan, that has always featured in one of my lessons, at least at one level or another. And I enjoy it. Let's just put it that way. But where do we go from here? I'm looking for...
I don't know.
I'm looking for people who are streaming. Z-Bean stopped streaming and she didn't send anything our way. I can't believe her. That's it. Our relationship is over.
How awfully rude.
Our relationship is over.
Operation.
Right? Do we dare go to Ivanchuk chess? I don't know if we'll get anything. I don't think we'll get anything out of Ivanchuk chess. What do we think, everybody? Suggestions for a raid in the chat.
I don't know.
Look, nobody's doing poker. It's really annoying. I'm sorry, nobody's doing chess except for Anna chess. Oh wait, here we go. I have to scroll down. Show more.
Ellen Kaya.
Ellen Kaya's just chatting. What is she just chatting about?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you really. I
think she's playing a video game. She's playing a video game. That's what she's doing.
That one's just chatting.
Pressbook is Russian. Wow. Shock Opa. How's everybody's German?
A little bit rusty. I mean, we haven't had a war for a long time.
Dominated. Brit Pawn.
Risque.
Would Brit Pawn appreciate this? I'm gonna look for. I'm looking for Lee chess as well.
I mean, I'm so outside my time zone. I have like the normal time I stream. I don't know anybody who does it.
True, it's crazy.
And I mainly just rage you to be fair. I mean, you're
Who is this guy? No, well, I am not always here at this time either. But all right, I say this stream. I think the theme of this particular stream to me is going to Ivanchuk chess because he's doing Bagoyabov Oiva 1928.
All right.
I think the theme of the stream fits. Well, the target channel disabled raids. Wow, how's that? That's what Chess24 should do. I mean, that's what Chess.com should do. Disable those raids. I feel like Chess24 is using.
It's just weird. We really don't need people, and they know that because they've got their own chess TV, and that it's not actually real viewers so much. It's when people click on. There's a little thing at the side, and it plays, and that's technically a viewer.
Right. There's another collaboration.
You can get like artificial views by having it on the side of a normal chess website.
Right. I'm headed over to Thinker Teacher. He's got a collaboration with TK BTS XU.
Oh, that's a mouthful of letters and words, isn't it?
TK. Well, BTS is an Asian.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it should be. It's closer. They're closer to you than they are to me.
No, don't worry. I've run into people who just seem to love these people.
No, I mean, there are several songs that are really good. Blackpink is also very good.
I'll take your word for it.
I don't know who I favor, though. I don't know who I favor. Rosie or... I'm trying to think. I'm drawing a blank on the Blackpink names. I used to know all of them.
I'm sorry, if you know any of them, we can't associate it.
Joking partly, of course. I'm pulling Rosie out of my tuchus. Meanwhile, so Thinker Teacher's getting my nod. Rogan, have a great rest of your day. Get some rest, man.
Oh, I definitely will. Yeah, I'll sleep well after this, you know. Same nightmares of messy E4 positions.
Oh, I lost my Rogan shoots. Because I forgot that I had the Twitch up there. Now I've got TK BTS in my window. That's so funny.
Oh, well.
Remember, I was pasting him in. Who's on leechess.org? Nobody. Attila Turzo.
All right.
Oh, well.
So meanwhile,
Back at the ranch.
have a great afternoon. I'm going to join Thinker Teacher for just a moment before I...
Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm sorry that there was more